Welcome in to Check the Mic. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson. Returning, we're back. Live. Presented by FanDuel. I might get all the words wrong today. Yeah, we'll see. Little brain fog here. Coming off of some sickness yesterday.
Yeah.
But welcome to Check the Mic and our show.
You and half the family, man down. So we got some Clorox on the table just in case, in case I need to start throwing them at you.
Yeah. I'll just keep washing my hands. Keep
Yeah.
wiping my hands. Which studio? We're back in the Antonio Cromartie studio in part with Huggies. That keeps
We're going to alternate. We didn't alternate yesterday because you were sick.
It's all presented by FanDuel. I apologize to everyone for missing yesterday's show. We had to cancel the show.
Yeah.
I was sick. We had 2 children ill Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Myself as well. It was a rough night and day yesterday.
It's amazing though how quickly, and it's a lesson for everyone when we dump on Cam Newton for making it all about him. It's amazing how quickly you make it all about yourself. Because I wake up, I see these messages like Steve going, "Oh, everyone's sick, man down, help," and I'm like, I wonder if that means I need to go into the studio or not. Hey, I know everything's bad over there, but do I need to drive now? Or
I was leaving you Slack messages at 3 a.m, like, "Hey guys, in rough shape, might not be able to do the show later today."
And I'm like, "That's terrible." But do I need to drive in the car now, or can I just go downstairs?
You can let me know if I have to come in. And I said, "No, stay home."
Yeah,
because I'm not going to make it. It's great. It's not great. Yes. So sick me was like removing full carpets at 3 a.m, throw them in the trash, and it was. Rough times.
Brutal.
Rough times. Feeling better, though.
Good.
And on the mend.
And hopefully not contagious.
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes here. So we got a big show. Bear with me here today. We do have an update, too. We did get over 2,500 on the charity drive.
Which means elf costume and elf spaghetti.
Yeah. So we're going to make...
That'll really help the sickness.
Oh, my gosh. Yes, the elf spaghetti is probably going to be wonderful. So we're going to make our way to the Kenwood Mall in the next couple days. And
you thought your stomach was in rough shape before. Watch this.
Get some footage.
Oh, my beer.
So, yeah, that's all going down. So appreciate everybody that contributed and was a part of that. All right. What else? So we'll see if I can stay on track here today. I don't know. I'm going to be all over the place.
Would you like a picks update?
Yeah. Do the picks.
We remain with 3 survivors left in the survivor pool. Last 3.
3?
Yeah, it's been that way since the Bucks. One of those games, either the Bucks or the Panthers, that made no sense. Like, that killed 17 people or something in one go. So there's 3 remaining since then. The picks thing, though, Maddox 29 is now top. So the guy with the name, whose name I don't appreciate, no longer top. Karma coming back to strike. More importantly, though, so Maddox 29, top with 130. He's been there or thereabouts for the entire season. I am now third with 126. 4 behind the lead with 3 weeks to go. I don't think we were trying to work this out before the show. I think it's regular season only with the Sleeper app. I think it just stops before the playoffs. You and Harry are now both tied for 276th with 103 wins.
Wow. It's getting worse and worse for me.
Yeah. I think we should remember a couple of years ago where you had literally the worst. Like, your fading you would have been the greatest betting edge in the NFL. I need to throw your picks through the pick watch thing again and figure out if that's like over a multiple year period now. You might actually have the strongest betting edge known to man. We should probably capitalize on that.
Probably.
We can't. But we should.
We can't.
Our listeners can.
Listeners can. We cannot. Anyway, but that was because I didn't put picks in right one time.
I don't think it is. You keep saying maybe that cost you a couple of games here or there, but I don't think that's why you have 103.
So I'm just going to pick on the fly here today. Got nothing to lose. All right, we ready to go? I'll be. It's also playoff scenario time. There are many scenarios. This weekend. It's a monster week. It is a week of either great games or useless games. So we're either talking playoff scenario or tankathon scenarios. That's pretty much.
One of our members, Jason CJ099 in the chat, is one of the 3 remaining survivors.
Nice. That's great. Well, good luck, Jason. Curious what your pick is this week. You going to tell us? Let us know who you have left in Survivor. All right, man. We ready?
Yep.
Game by game. It all starts tonight. What a game. Los Angeles Rams at the Seattle Seahawks. Rams favored by 1.5, the NFC West, and number 1 seed in the NFC. All on the line here. 11-3 Rams, 11-3 Seahawks rematch that Rams won in the first game in L.A. Seahawks get a chance to redeem themselves at home.
Yes, indeed. And I was kind of optimistic about how this would go for Seattle based off how the last game went, right? Which is, okay, they turned the ball over a million times and yet still almost won. You're like, well, if they simply don't turn the ball over a million times the second time around, then they'll win the game.
Yeah.
Seattle's defense still looks fantastic. However, that game, not only might it be just a permanent thing the Rams are able to do to Sam Darnold in terms of wreck him, with their pass rush up front, it might have had a permanent effect on Sam Darnold, who has not really looked the same guy since that game. He has, I believe, 16 turnover-worthy plays on the season, and 10 of them have been that game and since.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
And he has not had a high-end PFF grade in a single game since that game.
We have to talk Darnold when we talk about this game for various reasons. We have had at least one person, but I think multiple people. One person, I can't remember who it was, sent an extensive email and was screaming into the chat multiple times that we talk about Darnold in a different way than we talk about other quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be fair criticism. So is this fair criticism that when we talk about when Darnold has a bad game, it turns back into a pumpkin, it's implosion, it's different than if Josh Allen's had bad games. Like Josh Allen got sacked 6 times and had game-ending turnovers against the Texans.
Yeah.
And we don't use the same terminology with Josh Allen. And is it only because Darnold started his career poor, and because of that you're almost waiting? And I've said this before, with Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, and Baker Mayfield, because they were late bloomers, are we always anticipating a regression to what they were in their first however many years? And is this unfair? Because I'll remind you, Sam Darnold has had now back-to-back two very good seasons, last year and this year. Very good seasons. And in fact, if you're into QB wins, if you're into them, who has the best winning percentage among all quarterbacks in the last 2 years across 2 different teams? Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
So are we being unfair to Sam Darnold?
No.
In how we talk
because
about
I think the difference between him and, let's say, Josh Allen, because you threw that out as an example, is there has never been a single season in Sam Darnold's career where it did not collapse in some way, shape, or form, even if that was only for 2 games at the end of it, right? Last season was fantastic. It was a Josh Allen-esque season in terms of he's turned the corner. He's a different guy. This is amazing. He went through the kind of the breaching point where everyone was expecting it to fall off after week 4 or whatever, and it kept going. But it did fall away at the end. And the collapse was so spectacular that, if you looked at his PFF grade, he was up there with like the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He was like an all-pro level for 15 weeks. And the 2 games at the end were so bad that it dragged him down to like his grade last season is like middle of the pack. It's not even like it fell.
He was still top 10, I think.
I don't think it was.
I think he was still top 10.
I think he fell outside of the top 10.
But it was like top 3 or 4.
But it went from like the top 3 or 4 to outside of the top 10 somewhere. It was such a precipitous drop off. And then this year we start fantastic again, and everything's going great until the Rams game, and then we have 4 turnovers, 4 turnover-worthy plays, 5 turnovers, 4 turnover-worthy plays. It's a disaster, and I don't think he's played that well since then, regardless of what measure you're looking at, EPA per play, all these things that he was like the best quarterback in the NFL at. So now maybe he turns it around, and maybe this is just the rough point in the season that everybody goes through. Jared Goff has had these like month-long stretches where he hasn't played particularly well. A lot of other quarterbacks have, and that's where you would say, well, why are you talking about this guy differently to all these other guys who have these rough month-long stretches? The reason is because he's never had the season where it gets put back together and he's just good again. He's every single time. At some point, the wheels have fallen off, and they have stayed off when the wheels have fallen off. So I think it's reasonable to say Darnold has absolutely shown the capacity for lengthy stretches of very high-end play. But every single time, the wheels have fallen off at some point. So until we get to a season where the wheels do not fall off, or they fall off and somebody puts them back on again before the end of the year, I think it's reasonable to start talk about Darnold in those terms, that this is a guy who has yet to show that he can bounce back after the wheels have conclusively fallen off. He's done it within games, bad turnover, bounces back, leads a game-winning drive. He's done it week to week. He had a rough game, bounces back, has a great game the next week. He's not done it when it's like, we're now worried about Sam Darnold again, and then, boom, fixed. That's what he's yet to do. Josh Allen's done that. Other quarterbacks where you're like, they've done that. Jared Goff has done it. Like these guys who have had these comparable rough stretches, they've come out of the other side conclusively within the same season. Darnold has not done that yet, and that's why I think he deserves to be talked about differently.
He has not been, like the first half of the season, he was arguably the best or top 3 quarterback in the NFL by any measure, was playing great. We kept describing it as a low volume, extremely high efficiency type of passing attack. Hasn't necessarily been the same in recent weeks, really since that Rams game. 4 interceptions back in week 11. So I don't want to oversimplify and say Darnold is the story, but the way, he got sacked 8 times, whatever it was last year against the Rams in the playoff game, clearly was not seeing it well in that game. And I thought that when you go back and you watch that Rams game and the 4 picks that he had, it was a couple forces, some, double clutches, some late in the down forces into coverage. There was, scramble drill, like moving around the pocket, throwing late. He was pressing a little bit. And I think that's why it's also important, right? Some player, like the mental part of the game is important. And are you trying too hard in these bigger games? Are you trying to do too much? That's what it felt like from Darnold in this first one. And the Rams generally do a really good job of getting pressure on him, both with the front four, but also with the blitz. So I think he's got to play a cleaner game for Seattle. And then with the Rams, Stafford's still playing pretty well. Number 1 PFF grade. He's a little bit lower in EPA per play. Devontae Adams is going to be out. He's doubtful, but he's going to be pretty much out, I would say.
Doubtful. If he plays coming off that hamstring injury, I don't know how. If he plays
hamstring
coming off that
on a short week.
If he plays coming off that, I have no idea how hamstrings work anymore. Like I cannot even imagine him being back within a month, let alone a week.
So that's a factor. And look, is Seattle's defense better? We ranked the top 5 defense a couple weeks ago, and you have an argument for the Texans. I think we both have the Texans at number 1, but if there's an argument for the best defense in the league to be Seattle, it could be the Browns. It could be there's a few different teams, but Seattle's in the mix. They're probably better than the Rams overall defensively. They're both in the top 5 or 6, I would say, but Seattle's defense has a chance to make their statement against Stafford and the Rams.
Yeah, this is fun because I do think, the Rams offense has basically looked unstoppable the last few weeks. They've been on an absolute tear. I read it out during last show, I think, the review show, maybe it was the last week's preview. But they've been just rattling off these insane performances. The only team that's even come close to slowing them down in recent weeks is Seattle, the last time they played. Now, always confounding variables. Now you're going to be missing Devontae Adams, presumably, so that's probably going to be a part of slowing them down as well. They're slightly easier to be slowed down because you get to face them without Devontae Adams. But I do think the Seahawks defense is actually well equipped to slow down the Rams. And you've also got this wrinkle of how they do it in terms of personnel. Like, remember, the Rams have been on this push of 13 personnel, these 3 tight ends on the field, which presumably they're going to be forced into more now because Devontae Adams is down. So you're already without a wide receiver. Do you want Tutu Atwell on the field, or do you want one of these tight ends you're already using a lot? You're probably going to skew towards the tight ends.
Might see even more heavy tight end usage.
But
the Rams.
The Seahawks react to that differently to most teams. And this was one of the interesting wrinkles of the last time they played. Like, the Seahawks do not do what the Rams want them to do when it comes to matching up. So it didn't have the same effect. And I think actually against Seattle, they skewed the other way. They went away from it because the Seahawks they're not giving them what they want when they do that. So I think that side of the ball is really interesting. And I think Seattle will do a good job of actually combating this unstoppable Rams juggernaut. The question then becomes, is this Sam Darnold versus the Rams thing, like, is that specific to the Rams? Is that just the Rams actually have a very good defense and that's the problem? Or is it, on top of that Darnold has also hit this wobble where the wheels are in danger of coming off, and, it's almost crisis time for Seattle, because with Darnold playing like the best quarterback in the NFL, the Seahawks are as good as anybody. If Darnold's only playing pretty good, they're not.
So what's at stake here tonight? I keep mentioning, for the second straight year, Sam Darnold is in the same division as the best team in the conference.
Which, by the way, is just unlucky.
Yeah, there's also
anything else.
He's been great. I think he's been great overall the last 2 years, outside of a couple games. He's been outstanding. But now it's 11-3 versus 11-3. The difference is the number 1 seed or the number 5 seed. Just like last year, it just happened to be Week 18 last year. Vikings and Lions. One more factor.
And it's, by the way, it's a similar dynamic though to the AFC where there's basically one crappy division. So the 5 seed is actually. It's a good place to be, relatively. It's not as good as the 1 seed, obviously. But in terms of, like, what do you get? Right. What's the booby prize? Like, you might have to go to Tampa Bay or Carolina.
Right.
And if you're Seattle or the Rams, I mean, okay, the Rams lost to Carolina, which is ridiculous. But it's not going to scare them. You know, if they're like, hey, by the way,
they're a touchdown favorite in a rematch.
Exactly. I know bad things happened, and you lost the 1 seed. Now you got to go on the road. But you got to go on the road to Carolina. I mean, the Rams are happy about that, even though somehow they lost the game the last time they played. I'm sorry, Doctor, but it's true. You know it's true. That's what the odds would – again, they'd be a touchdown favorite.
I'm assuming the Doctor's only listening to Panthers parts of the show, so we could,
Yeah.
The other factor, weather, Sam.
Oh.
Kevin Roth.
In the Pacific Northwest?
Correct.
Will it perhaps be rainy?
Well, even more than that. Kevin Roth WX, at Kevin Roth WX on the X machine.
You know the way people have like lists of beat writers? Have you got like a list of local weathermen?
No. Weathermen? So someone in the chat said weather could be a factor. And I said, let me check that.
Let me go search.
Googled the weather, and we got to Kevin Roth.
Okay.
He says multiple models are showing a brief period of powerful winds pregame and through kickoff, gusting around 40 miles per hour. And then because it's in Seattle, of course, there'll be some level of rain. Right.
Wind and rain. It's the full Irish weather.
Like Ireland light.
It's like the Cliffs of Moher out there. Nobody wants that.
It's very similar. And then you add the wind gusts of 40 plus in there. So just a factor. We know Stafford, Darnold's got a good arm, but Stafford certainly has the arm to cut the wind. But is that, I repeat this every time there's a big wind game. NFL teams sometimes have a wind cutoff with their game plans.
Yeah.
Which is usually 17 miles an hour.
And if it shifts the game plan collectively in this game towards a running game, the Rams have a much better running game than the Seahawks do.
Yes.
Like that's the one area of Seattle's team where you'd say, no matter what happens, they've been a little bit unable to get the run game functioning the way they wanted to. Meanwhile, the Rams are cooking with Kyron Williams and Blake Corum and the duo that they've got. So if the weather does force this to suddenly become a run-heavy super game, Seattle, I think that hurts them.
So it's just something else to keep an eye on. All right. All that said, it's the Rams by 1.5 here, over under 42.5 from FanDuel. Where are you going to go with this one?
So my initial instinct was Seattle based off last game, but the more I think about it, the more I'm wondering if Darnold is not permanently broken, but is not what he was the first half of the season, at which point I think the Rams are better. So the Rams.
Yeah, I'll take the Rams, as will Harry. And I'm not believing in Seattle. I do think this could be their chance to get over the hump at home here, but I'll still go with the Rams here. All right, we've got Saturday games, Sam. We're all over the place as far as scheduling goes. The next game is Saturday.
2 Saturday games?
2 Saturday games.
Oh, God.
At 5. Going head-to-head with the college football playoff, by the way. CFP starts at noon on Saturday.
The first round is kind of like, who cares?
No. The best game's at noon, Miami and Texas A&M. And then the games get worse.
That's only because none of those teams are going to win it, right?
Miami or A&M could go on a run.
Yeah.
Oregon could go. Oregon, they're playing James Madison head to head with the Bears.
Packers. Right, but like that's the problem is with the greatest of respect to James Madison.
You don't believe JMU as 21-point underdogs?
No.
So 21-point spread in the.
I mean that's I think the thing, right? Like if your college football playoff is producing 21-point spreads,
not good.
It's broken.
It's not good. Anyway, I got a friend at JMU. Don't hate.
The
NFL starts Saturday at 5. Philadelphia Eagles at the Washington Commanders. Eagles favored by 6.5 here. They're 9-5 against the 4-10 Commanders. We'll go quicker through some of these games that mean less. The big thing for Philly right now, their last 3 games, they just need to win 1 game, I believe it is, to clinch the division. They got the Commanders week 16 this week, and then week 18. So they have that whole. Haven't played the Commanders all year, by the way. Let's play them 2 out of the last 3 weeks. And then they have the Bills next week, which, by the way, is one of only 2 games in the 4 o'clock window next week.
Okay.
So, that's what the Eagles have coming up here.
How many have got in the one? Like 12?
And then Jaden Daniels has officially been shut down for the season.
Yeah, good. I mean, I'm sorry, Jaden. I'm sure you want to be out there playing, but like if that was the case, that his elbow is unusually susceptible to re-injury because it was dislocated in the first place, then what the hell was he ever doing out there again? Like, that's insane.
Yeah, agreed. So, from an Eagles perspective, they just beat the Raiders in like a 2-hour game last week.
Yeah, I mean, this
31-0.
Clearly,
build on that.
Yeah, like clearly last week was fake to some degree, so now it's a real team, sort of. Back up. That's how bad the Raiders are. That a Washington team without its starting quarterback is seen as much more of a real NFL football team than the Raiders were. But clearly, the Raiders game did not represent actual reality of what happens when the Philadelphia Eagles play NFL football. So we should hopefully get a better idea this week of, did you actually fix anything, or did you just play the Raiders?
Yeah, so it's a fair question here. Can the Eagles continue to just have some rhythm offensively? At least 2 out of these next 3 weeks against Washington here. Can they get the run game going a little bit more? Washington's defense, they've been poor up front, rushing the passer. They've been beat up on that side of the ball. This is, last week I said, look, if the Eagles are going to throw a bunch of ISO routes on the outside, it should work well against the Raiders, who don't have great corners. You can say the same thing about Washington as well. So I think the Eagles, at least 2 out of these next 3 weeks, can look pretty good. I don't know if we'll learn a whole lot, but they could look at least better than they did in some of their games in previous weeks, heading into the playoffs with some momentum.
Yeah, and I honestly wonder for a team like Philadelphia, who have to internally be aware of that collapse the same way everyone on the outside is, like, I wonder how important morale is for that team. Like, that might be a team where just feeling good about yourself, because they're so talented physically. Like,
yeah.
The ISO routes to A.J. Brown, like letting Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, like Saquon Barkley, these are all extremely talented playmakers. Them feeling good about how they're playing is probably a pretty useful thing, particularly if you're not going to help them out with complex play designs or schematically or whatever. So they might be they might be a team for whom internal morale and just actually feeling like you're playing well is unusually important relative to the rest of the NFL. And actually, while it might be fake, going on a run of just playing not very good teams might be a really good thing for the Eagles.
The Eagles also, they're sitting there at the 3 seed, right? Like, we're talking, they're in this weird spot of like, are they collapsing versus are they going to repeat as Super Bowl champions, right? I mean, that's what the Eagles are, right? They're capable.
Yeah.
And if we take a step back, like the Eagles certainly, they lose Milton Williams, they lose Josh Sweat. They took a hit on the offensive line. Like, they took a hit in several positions. This was supposed to be, the roster was supposed to be still really good, but also a step back from what the Super Bowl team was last year. It was kind of a reset year. They drafted high in volume. And but early in the season, it didn't feel like that. It's like, oh, it's the same old Eagles. And maybe some of that's just caught up to them. Some of the O-line issues and, certainly injuries. We're not having Lane Johnson. We have right tackle wins.
Yeah.
Lane Johnson win percentage and everything. So there's been some factors against Philly in recent weeks here.
Sure. I mean, Lane Johnson is one of the best players in all of football. So losing him, however good the rest of your offensive line is, it is a huge blow. Particularly, and the Eagles leave their offensive tackles out on an island more than anybody else in the NFL when they're healthy as well. So, I mean, that's a massive, massive blow. Like, every week, we're like, did Darrisaw play or not for the Vikings? Yes or no, right? And that's a huge variable on whether or not their offense is going to be even competent. The Eagles losing Lane Johnson, who I think is a better player than Christian Darrisaw, I mean, he's not coming back for them for that period of time, so they're losing him every week there. It is a huge thing that we just kind of, you skate over because everyone has injuries, blah, 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 but that is a huge thing.
And then from Washington's perspective, for all these 3 and 4 win teams, we'll at least mention where they are in draft standing. They're one of 3 teams tied at 4 and 10 right now: New Orleans, Washington, and Cincinnati. As of right now, the Saints are picking 7, Commanders 8, Bengals 9. So top 10 pick on the line here every week.
Pride on the line.
Washington. Plus pride.
Yeah.
I got nothing else on this one.
No, I mean, Washington, I think it was good for them to get a win because I think they have actually been fighting pretty hard and playing hard in this stretch, even though they haven't been successful. So I think they'll give Philadelphia a tough game, even though like they're overmatched everywhere. But you would expect the Eagles to win because of that.
Yeah. By 6.5 here, the Eagles are favored. Where are you going to go with this one?
I want to buy into the Washington fighting hard and Philadelphia last week being kind of fake thing. So I'm going to say Washington cover the line, even though Philadelphia wins.
All right, I'll take Philly to cover the 6.5, as will 10-year-old Harry, who I'm tied with in picks. Those first 2 games won't separate us, though. Both picking the same ones.
I mean, you've given up now on catching me, and you're now focusing on beating the child.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah. Also, I started a bowl pool with all 4 kids. So I got all 4 of them like, I took Troy. I took Jacksonville State. Oh, it's,
Beating the child. So there's these unfortunate, like, double entendre terms that, like, so Scout had an orchestra recital yesterday, right? And apparently the word for playing multiple strings, I think, with one, like, stroke of the bow is a slur, right? And I giggle like a child every time the whatever her name is, like the teacher is like, we've been working really hard on our slurs. Like, I'm sorry, that's just a funny sentence.
Like, what are you teaching my kids?
Right, I'm like imagining a group of 12-year-olds just like hurling abuse at people. Like, I don't think that's what you're going for. It feels like there's a better way of articulating that sentence, but you do you. Makes me laugh. And it's also, by the way, I don't know if I'm just unusually childlike mentally, but you're sitting there, I'm like, why is nobody else finding this funny?
Yeah, seriously.
I'm almost like, I'm trying to stifle a giggle here, and everyone else just sitting there stony faced. Like, did you hear what you just said?
You
like,
don't find it funny that the teachers teaching slurs here?
I gotta be the only one that registered that as a funny sentence, surely.
So if your daughter playing the violin, I got my kids making bowl picks.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Excellent. You should get her making picks. Start a real degenerate.
We tried that way back in the day. She didn't have that much interest.
Not interested. All right, let's go Saturday night. Now we got a good one here. Green Bay Packers at the Chicago Bears. It's at 8:20. Packers favored by 1.5. The NFC North, first place on the line. Once again, Bears are back atop the NFC North at 10-4. Packers are 9-4-1. Bears are the number 2 seed, right? So we're back and forth. The winner will be the number 2 seed, as the Bears hold right now, and the loser will be down probably to the 7 seed, depending on what happens with the 49ers game.
Mm-hmm.
It would be the 7 seed. That's what's at stake here, Packers and Bears. Rematch from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. And obviously the difference this time is no Micah Parsons.
Yeah. We didn't get to, because I skipped yesterday's show, canceled all of it. We didn't get to do the Micah Parsons reaction, Patrick Mahomes reaction. We were going to explain what happened with the Chiefs and everything. But the Parsons, obviously we talked about it on Monday.
Right.
How does this affect the Packers and everything going forward?
I mean, it's huge. Again, Micah Parsons is one of the best defensive players in the NFL, and we saw the impact he was having on that defense. Like, it was obvious. Okay, maybe if you're only focusing on sacks, you might not be that convinced, but if you're actually watching any football game where Micah Parsons was playing, you're like, dude, that guy is the most important thing that's happening in this game on that side of the ball. He's been relentless. Now, Chicago did a reasonable job against him the first time around. I say that, and he still had a ton of pressure in that game and caused all kinds of problems. But, like, he's had more game-wrecking performances than he did against the Bears. But the fact that he's not there, I mean, that's so much. Like, imagine how much easier life is for Chicago's game planning this week without Micah Parsons in that lineup.
And we've said a lot this year. It's not just because Parsons is a great player. It's because they've been moving him around, using him in different ways.
Yeah.
Tons of twists and
They don't
stunts.
have to think about any of that anymore.
Yeah.
Like, where is Micah Parsons on every single play? What do we do if we have a protection called and Micah Parsons ends up somewhere else and we hadn't planned on it? Like, what are the checks? How do we flip it? Like, none of that. They don't have to do any of that this week.
And then strangely, opposite Micah Parsons, it hasn't been a great year for a guy like Rashawn Gary, who we thought, with Parsons there and all the attention that he gets, Gary hasn't necessarily won the one-on-ones at a high rate compared to what he's done in previous years. So I think there's even more pressure on him. You're not going to use Gary the same way you're using Micah Parsons, but he's got to win. He's got to win more one-on-one. Now, I don't think the Packers' defense is doomed.
Like, he has to go back to being the number one pass rusher there.
Yes, absolutely. And they're not doomed. I mean, they had a good defense last year.
Yeah.
There's just more pressure across the board. We've seen not only was Parsons helping the pass rush and affecting protections and creating havoc there, like Chris Jones in Kansas City and a couple others, they're just a certain number of plays per game that he just cancels immediately.
Yes.
So you're talking about like 3 or 4 plays where the play's over. It's just dead. because he's in the backfield and you're forcing the quarterback out of the pocket and it's pretty much dead, right? So you get 3 or 4 plays like that per game. And then you have what happens in the secondary, where especially early in the season, you just saw how those DBs could sit on routes and because they knew pressure was going to get there. So there's just more pressure. There's just more on the plates of everyone else on the defense for the Packers.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, they don't go from being, a very good team or a Super Bowl contender, the 1 seed contender, to being garbage. But it's like a lot of last year they were a good, not great team. And to the point where the pattern matching was kind of freaky, where they would basically only beat, as soon as they ran up against a legitimate high-end team, they lost. And they did it to all of them. And then they beat everybody else. And that probably is too neat a pattern to be accurate, but it serves as a useful representation of what they were last year. They were a very good football team, but they weren't great. And anytime they met a great team, they got their ass kicked or they lost. Some of them were close. This year, you're like, well, now they're beating some of these teams. And, oh, by the way, Micah Parsons is wrecking shop. So maybe it's as simple as you add Micah Parsons to last year's team and you make that jump between very good and great. Well, now he's gone again, so maybe you jump back in the opposite direction. And maybe the difference between having Micah Parsons on the field or not is the difference between can you beat these other contending teams or not. And all of a sudden, Chicago is emerging as a legitimate contending team. And, they have their shot at the 1 seed, and they're absolutely in the hunt as well. And if Micah Parsons isn't there, can Green Bay still overcome and beat those teams?
Remember the last matchup a couple weeks ago? I think it's really been the story of Green Bay's offense. It's high leverage plays. It's third down. We saw a third down catch and run by Christian Watson where he just outran the defense. He will be back, by the way. He had the shoulder, landed on his
That's
shoulder
huge.
The other
Yeah.
day. We've said a bunch this year. Their offense is completely different when Christian Watson's out there.
Right, and I know that they've had him previously, but I think he's playing the best football of his career coming off this ACL injury. So it's in a way, it's like an addition. To me, it's the sort of comparable addition to Michael Parsons on the defensive side. I think a lot of people hoped or expected that to be Matthew Golden, the first-round rookie, and actually it's been the return of Christian Watson. He's finally become the player that he was supposed to be when they drafted him, and now you've added this legit number 1 big play threat on offense and a legit number 1 pass rusher on defense. Well, the defensive guy's gone, and the offensive guy looked like he might have been joining him with that injury against Denver. Apparently dodged a bullet and hopes to play this week. The next question becomes, does he still play like the guy he's been for most of the season coming back, or does that injury, put him back into a shell a little bit? Do you suddenly start to get him, messing up some of those deep balls and not quite having the same impact? But theoretically, Christian Watson not being injured is huge to the offense.
And we've just seen how much, how good Jordan Love has been on third down and creating explosives in high leverage situations. So to me, it's like a battle of teams. Like the Bears have been really dependent on turnovers on the defensive side of the ball. The Packers have been really dependent on third down conversions and converting third and longs and Jordan Love fadeaways, which is great. Both of those things are really tough to sustain, but they have to this point. And I think, it comes down to, can the Bears force a couple of those turnovers here? Can Love continue to hit those third and longs in this game like he did? It wasn't all third and longs, but it was high leverage plays and explosive plays that they created against this Bears defense in the first matchup.
I'm really curious to see if Chicago comes with a different plan for the slot than they had last time these two teams played. C.J. Gardner-Johnson was targeted mercilessly in the slot the last time they played, and a lot of them they managed to get Christian Watson lined up in the slot. Like the slant touchdown where he just ran away from him, just destroyed him at the line and then ran away from him for a deep touchdown, which is, the difference in the game, really. But there was a bunch of plays. This is all this despite, by the way, I saw an insider say that C.J. Gardner-Johnson had been a revelation for the Bears in the slot in their latest edition of Water Carrying for Agents. He was bad enough in that game, in this specific matchup, that that was problematic. And if you do that again, I think you're going to get wrecked again. So it's not as easy as saying, well, you just put somebody else in the slot. I think they need to start thinking about how do we add extra attention to the slot defender if C.J. Gardner-Johnson is matched up in a rough spot. That was really bad last time. We need to come up with some way of giving him help.
Last thing, just to touch on the Bears offense here. Caleb Williams, big game last week against the Browns. A couple really nice touchdown passes. I think if I was to sum up the Bears' passing attack, we've seen some special throws from Caleb Williams every game.
Yeah.
And when I say special, I mean we're talking. It's not just like dropping a deep ball in for 40 yards or whatever, which every quarterback does. We're talking scramble drill throws and things that other quarterbacks aren't doing a whole lot of.
And can't do.
Really special throws.
I mean, he's in that, early career Mahomes, current Josh Allen, like the list of quarterbacks that's pretty small that like they do things and can attempt things that most quarterbacks can't and shouldn't, right? Like if Joe Burrow was attempting some of the things that Caleb Williams was given a shot to, it wouldn't go well.
Yeah.
And Burrow's good and has, a solid, good on NFL. Like he's good across the board at all these things physically, right? Athletic enough, big enough, strong enough arm, all these things, good enough. And yet if he was attempting half the crap that Caleb Williams is out here doing, it would be terrible because there's no way he'd be able to make those passes.
So I believe that to be true. And I also believe it to be true that, still missing some open stuff.
Yeah.
And that's why I think they're so close.
Yes.
The run game is in a really good spot. And remember, the last time they played, it was, I don't think they had a run over 9 yards, but it was really effective. And that's what got them back into the game. They had that really long drive. They threw a game-ending interception. Caleb Williams was picked off in the end zone on a 4th and 1. But they were right there about to make that comeback, showing, hey, we can compete in the NFC North. I know they lost by 7, but they were right there, one play away from sending that game to overtime. So I'm just of the mind you get a couple of these special throws from Caleb every week, hit some more of the open throws, get the 1-2 punch of DeAndre Swift. Swift showed up on the injury report this week, so keep an eye on that. But Swift and Monangai, the 1-2 punch with some power and some speed and quickness, they're in really good shape. They're really close, this Bears team.
Yeah, they are. The Caleb Williams thing.
And by the way, really quick, they're the number 2 seed.
Right.
But you're asking because they haven't been there before, are they the real deal? And I think they are. I think they're closing in, and they could be even better if Williams starts to hit a few more of the open throws.
And this is part of why the Caleb Williams conversation is a nuanced thing, and nobody does well with nuance, particularly not on social media. But it's a complex conversation because it's not like it was when, Trubisky had that run. Remember when Bears fans thought he was the truth? And it's like, actually, every underlying number says this is not. He's actually not playing that well, and this is probably going to come back down to earth.
And they had the best defense in the league.
Yeah.
There was factors there.
It's also not like it was when Justin Fields was there making some spectacular athletic plays. And you're like, yeah, but the passing game is still pretty limited. And, man, Caleb Williams is so close to being a truly elite NFL quarterback. And what he's doing right now is already encouraging because he's taking a step forward. We talked about it before. The SCRAC number, the kind of amalgam of sacks and scrambles, he's gone from literally the worst quarterback in the NFL at that to being somewhere in the top 10. And that's hugely encouraging. That's a really important area of turning negative plays into positive plays, which keeps your offense ahead of the chains, which is all a good thing. And yet there's some clearly defined areas of his game where he's still lagging behind in terms of efficiency and just not maximizing what he's doing. And because he's the number 1 overall pick and a theoretical, high, not generational, everyone uses that every year, but one of those special talents, right? The 2 most common names he was linked with at draft time were Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. So we're talking about somebody with a special skill set. And all of a sudden the Bears are in the hunt for the number 1 seed, let alone, can they be good this year? Can they make the playoffs this year? They're on pace to being the best team in the NFC. Record-wise. So you have to start focusing on Caleb Williams with a microscope and say, the way you talk about Josh Allen, this is all nice, but can you beat the Chiefs in January, right? That's where you need to start talking about Caleb Williams in these terms. Obviously he's taking a big step forward based off last year, and this is all good. But now it's not about, are you just playing better than you were last year? It's about, can you actually go on this run in the playoffs that you seem destined to be in and knock off some of these other elite quarterbacks and be the reason that your team wins the Super Bowl, not can you just get there? And I think this is all good for Chicago because they're a year ahead of schedule. They're not supposed to be here now. This is supposed to be a work in progress. We're supposed to be let's put the foundation pieces in place, and then next year will be a real force. All of a sudden, they're a real force now, and I don't think it's a figment of our imagination. It's not like the Giants a few years ago where it was sort of fake. They're good. and they're good on both sides of the ball, and that's with Caleb Williams leaving this meat on the bone with a coach that presumably is still coaching him hard. You know, you can see that from press conferences. Like, he's still kind of needling Caleb and being like, hey, we got this stuff we can do better, blah, blah, blah. This is all good because it means that if we click, right, if we just take that little step, there's more to come from this Bears team, even though they're still in with the number one seeding shot and all that kind of stuff.
Well said, Sam. I agree. I think there's more there. And the fact that they're sitting there at the number 2 seed at 10-4 bodes well. It's also, I said this early in Joe Burrow's career. I think it was his first year full-time starting after he got injured. They went and played Baltimore. And I was like, this was huge statement. When they played Baltimore, when they played Pittsburgh, this was the huge statement game to show we're for real, right?
Yeah.
Like, the Bengals are going to be a force in this division in the coming years. And they beat the Ravens, and then they were. They won. I can't remember if they won the division titles or not, but, you know, they made it to the AFC Championship, Super Bowl, 2 out of the 2 straight years there. Similar to me right here. If you're going to be, and they have the Lions in a couple weeks, by the way, with perhaps a playoff spot on the line. If you're going to be competing with the Packers and Lions in the coming years, big week. Prove it. Prove that you can beat them and split the season series with the Packers and show that you're here. So let's go. 39 degrees. I'm seeing something in the teens here for nighttime, at least at 8 o'clock.
Maybe your number's factoring in the wind chill.
It might be. But it's clear. It's cold.
Pisses me off, by the way, as a concept. Like, why give me the temperature in a way that like the real feels like temperature should be the temperature. I don't care what the mercury says in a lab. I want to know how cold it is outside. Give me the feels like temperature.
So feels like should be the default.
It should be the temperature.
It should be the temperature.
It's not whatever is in a glass box somewhere in a lab settings is irrelevant to me. I want to know when I'm sitting my ass in a chair out there, how cold is it?
What does it feel like?
Right.
Which is the actual temperature.
Correct.
So, Packers by 1.5 here. Interesting, these top 2 NFC games. They've got the Rams favored by 1.5, Packers favored by 1.5.
Yeah.
Over under 46.5, by the way. Where are you going to go with
this one? I'm going Green Bay.
I got the Bears, man. Harry's taking the Packers. I got the Bears. Statement game for the Chicago Bears at home. They're going to split with the Packers. I'm buying into the bit of a setback with losing Micah Parsons for the Packers. I get the Bears, man, pulling this upset Saturday night. All right, we got some other fun games the rest of the weekend. The Jacksonville Jaguars at the Denver Broncos. It's Sunday at 4:05. This is an embarrassment for the league that they're burying it at 4:05. You know I hate that. Over under 46.5. Denver favored by 3 here. They're 12-2, number 1 seed in the NFL against the red-hot Jags at 10-4.
Yeah, fun matchup.
And as I put out on Twitter this week, the last time they played in Denver was the AFC divisional round in 1996. Nothing's happened since.
No.
Mark Brunell statement game.
Your Jags propaganda has gotten so out of control that you're getting community noted on Twitter.
They put community notes because I said this
is that the first thing you've
time.
ever done that got community noted?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Some people were really upset that I put some misinformation out there. Sure, yes, I know that the Jags have played in Denver.
It's like I was telling you, most people don't care about the schedule. The ones that do really care.
They were like, what about Minshew in 2019? Well, the very next year they went to Denver and they lost in the wild card round. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Brunell game. Brunell to Jimmy to seal it. What a game. Jacksonville at Denver. A lot of fun here. A lot of great memories for some people.
A lot of great memories. Yeah. This is the first, I think, significant test of how real is this Trevor Lawrence improvement in the last couple of weeks. Like he's played arguably back-to-back best games of his career in the last few weeks. I think the one against Indianapolis was more impressive because Indianapolis are better than the Jets. But back-to-back best games of his career, arguably. And really, the game against Tennessee was pretty damn good too, but they're the Titans. So 2 out of the last 3 weeks, he's basically played pretty garbage teams, but played very well in 3 straight games. Well, now you go up against Denver, who've got still the best pass rush in the NFL, elite coverage on the back end. You do it against them. Well, now, all right, now it's hard to argue against, right? Now you're literally just saying it's a sample size thing, whoever knows. But 4 straight games, including one against one of the best defenses in the NFL. I mean, now you're now you're off to the races. You're like, Jacksonville are as good as anybody in the NFL. Their defense is great. Their run game is great. The receivers are arrived, and Trevor Lawrence is now playing like the number 1 overall pick. Super Bowl, baby.
That's what's at stake here.
Yeah.
For both teams, really. I mean, the Jags are the number 3 seed. They're sitting at top the AFC South. I think it's going to be a playoff atmosphere, playoff-like atmosphere. The Broncos trying to hold on to the number 1 seed here at 12-2. And look, I thought what Bo Nix and the Broncos showed last week, you're talking about Lawrence and where he's trending. I came out of that game saying, if they have to win in a shootout, if they have to win in a game where there's a lot of points. And look, I think the Broncos defense has shown some little cracks these last few weeks, giving up 26 points to Washington and going to overtime with them. They had the Raiders in between there, but last week against the Packers, they fell behind. Little cracks, right? They're not start to finish dominant in these last few games. Are they great at the end? Absolutely. Are they great, holding on to leads? Absolutely. But little cracks on the defense. And if that pops up in the playoffs, I have far more faith. I thought we learned more last week and in other times during Bo Nix's career. If you Bo Nix and Sean Payton, if they have to put points on the board, they can do it. And I think that bodes well for Denver, where they don't have to 100% maybe rely on that defense. So huge statement game in the AFC because, look, the Chiefs are out of this thing. The Bills are going to most likely be a wild card. There's just new teams. There's new teams this year. It is a fascinating, fun season where new teams are trying to establish themselves. And this is one of those games that says, is it the Jags? Is it the Broncos? Like, which team is going to be a force come playoff time?
It is a really fun. It is a really fun year because it's just new teams. It's not Bills fans are going to be really upset this year unless they win it all, because the narrative out there is you're never going to get a better chance than this, right? The Chiefs are not here. Joe Burrow's Bengals are not here. The Ravens and Lamar Jackson are not here. Maybe you're never, if not now, when are you possibly? If you can't stumble your ass to a Super Bowl in this year, when all of the good quarterbacks are done, how can you possibly win?
That's opportunity.
But the point is,
if they don't,
that doesn't mean that the teams that are replacing those teams aren't good. It's just that they're not the established,
different.
right? It's just that they're not the established dynasty teams that we're used to. Like this Broncos team is still a dominant force. The Patriots might be an amazing team as well. They've had an easy record. If Trevor Lawrence shows up this week the way he's been playing the last few weeks, the Jags might be a dominant team as well. We're just they're just different teams. So it's not necessarily that Buffalo's path is actually any easier than it's ever been. It's just that the quarterbacks are different.
Every single quarterback in the playoffs, by the way, as of right now, except Brock Purdy and the 49ers, if I'm looking at it. Every single former quarterback is a first rounder. And almost in every quarterback except Aaron Rodgers and Jalen Hurts, I'm looking, and Stafford, have not won a Super Bowl. So, like in the AFC in particular, it's, Bo Nix, how good is he, his legacy with the Broncos, and it's Drake May and the Patriots, and it's Trevor Lawrence, has he finally come good as the former number 1 overall, and it's, Justin Herbert, who you said should at least be whispered in the MVP conversation given everything around him. It's Josh Allen trying to finally get over the hump. I mean, there's still plenty of time to talk about all this, but it's a fun year because it's wide open and it's new and it's fresh. And it's, the Chiefs have been to all the Super Bowls, but in between there, the Bengals.
But I just think
we're going to see a completely new, champion in the AFC.
Right. I think we should just caution against this idea that because these teams are new and unproven, maybe, and we're not as certain that they are the Chiefs, right? Because that's the case, we should caution against, don't mistake that for them not being as good as previous playoff teams. Again, if Trevor Lawrence is playing the way he's playing right now, this Jags team might be as good as any playoff team we've seen in the last few years, right? This is a new thing. It's a new development. We haven't seen this team with Trevor Lawrence playing like the generational player he was supposed to be. Like you've been talking for a while, what if his career is going to look like Andrew Luck's, right? And really, it was kind of underwhelming for quite a large period of his career, and then suddenly Luck clicked into being the player that he was always supposed to be, the next great player since Peyton Manning, Elway, blah, blah, blah. Right towards the end of Luck's career is when he started to hit that groove, and suddenly you're like, dude, if he's playing like this is a dominant force. If Trevor Lawrence has flipped that switch, and maybe, look, again, we've had several false dawns when it comes to Trevor Lawrence's career already, but if he does this against Denver, if Trevor Lawrence is playing like that, and we now have a month where he's looking like that player, the Jags are as good as anybody. So, just because like Buffalo will no longer be happy to see the Jags in the playoffs if that's the case, because you're like, oh no, they've got a great defense, a powerful run game, receivers we got to worry about everywhere, and Trevor Lawrence, who's a running threat and a passing threat, and this is a nightmare. Like, it's not an easy pathway just because Trevor Lawrence isn't Patrick Mahomes.
It's going to be Lawrence is playing with such great confidence in recent weeks. I keep highlighting the fact that he's faced these overload blitzes once each of the last 2 weeks and just rolls out to his left and throws an absolute dot. And it's just plays like that where I think he shows he's feeling it right now. And maybe he's Stafford early in his career, where Stafford would get hot for 3 or 4 games and look great. But can Lawrence continue that consistency? And as you said at the very beginning of this, going up against the Denver defense with a fierce pass rush, their ability to cover on the back end. But what has coincided with Trevor Lawrence's development here? Jacoby Myers coming in, receivers being in the right place at the right time, not forcing it to Brian Thomas Jr. They pretty much have that entire group of receivers intact now. And they've done this since Travis Hunter got hurt. And I saw people suggest maybe that actually ended up being a good thing for the short term here because you don't have to force it to Hunter. You don't have to overly think how you're using Travis Hunter as a receiver, as a corner and everything, and that'll bode well for the future, just kind of like fitting him into this bigger puzzle for this Jags offense. So that side of the ball is great. And again, I just think Denver's offense on the other side is capable, and the Jags defense is tough as well. So another challenge for Bo Nix, and they've got Troy Franklin and Cortland Sutton and Pat Bryant. Like, they've got some decent receivers to spread the ball around to, and we've seen a bunch of those guys step up in huge games over these last month plus here.
Yeah, and they're kind of interesting comparables because you got Trevor Lawrence, who looks like he's arrived over the last few weeks, and then you've got Bo Nix, who was spectacular last week. Again, like, both guys are arguably coming off the best game of their career, which is unusual, I would say.
Yeah, I definitely think that was Bo Nix's best game of his career, given the circumstances and the big-time throws that he made. And Lawrence, like, statistically it was, and but it was the Jets.
I mean, his is like, it probably was, but it was against the Jets, and we know, But, like, you don't often, I would imagine, get a game matchup between two quarterbacks that are both coming off a career game, I would say. I would say that's quite an unusual dynamic, and yet that's where we are here. But it's also like neither one of these quarterbacks is truly established as like an elite difference maker. They've each shown flashes and each had games like that. And by the way, each of them had the last game was like that. But all of a sudden, they're meeting each other now with a chance to like show that they are a quarterback that you can win in the playoffs because of, not in spite of or along with.
And what's at stake here? The Jags are holding on to a 1-game lead over the Texans in the South. The Texans are playing the Raiders. So there's a chance at the end, if the Jags lose, there's a battle at the top now, a tie at the top between the Texans and the Jags in the South. So they're dangerously close to either the 3 or the 7 seed here, or the 6 seed. So that's at stake here. Home game in the playoffs and the whole thing. And for Denver, 1 game away. They're 1 game up for the number 1 seed and getting that bye in the AFC. A lot's at stake. It's buried in the 405 window with a backup Fox group, but it's fine. It's going to be the game of the week here, potentially.
Backup Fox group.
That's what like Fox is doing this.
Who
AFC.
Is that? Who's the backup?
It's not the backup. It's like their third or fourth string Fox broadcast at 405. It's not backup.
That's a backup.
Don't mean to disparage. It's probably
Some of those are good.
I know. They're fine. But it's at 405. It's starting during the witching hour. All right, Denver by 3. Where are you going to go with this one?
I'm going with Denver.
I got the Jags.
I think that Denver pass rush, I think, will be a very, very interesting test for Trevor Lawrence. Lawrence is always, I think, going to skew to being one of those quarterbacks that holds it a tick long, plays it a tick slow. Whereas the one team that really negated that pass rush was Washington, and the game plan was like,
speed it up.
Let's go. Yeah. Let's get it out immediately. I don't really see Lawrence doing that. And now that doesn't mean he won't win anyway. But I think this will be it's such an escalation in terms of difficulty level versus the Jets.
I think they might be able to run it a little bit against Denver.
Very true.
That's why I'm taking you're right. Lawrence is weird because I think when he's off, he's sped up. Like, he tries to play fast and it's sped up. But then there's also a number of plays where it's like, get rid of it, right? He goes back and forth between those two things.
And ETN has been pretty spectacular this year. Bashal Tutin's injured, so that's not going to help the run game. But, ETN has been able to to have a lot of explosive plays within that offense.
So I'll take the Jags. Harry's taking Denver. And then if you guys want to go back and watch the 96, it's on YouTube.
Of course. Why wouldn't you?
96, Mark Brunell, the touchdown to Keenan, the scramble drill play, the touchdown to Jimmy Smith, a Brunell to Jimmy Smith fade. Nothing prettier than that.
Jimmy Smith, such a good player.
So good. But go check it out.
One of the most underrated.
Just go check out YouTube. Jags, Broncos, 1996.
One of the most underrated receivers in NFL history.
All right, so I got the Jags. Harry's taking Denver. We got Pittsburgh Steelers at the Detroit Lions Sunday at 4:25. Lions favored by 6.5 here. 8-6 Lions, 8-6 Steelers. Steelers sitting atop the AFC North. I believe if they at least win this game, they're putting a lot of pressure on the Ravens, where they're going to play in Week 18. There's a chance that the Week 17 games don't mean anything, and it's only Week 18 for the division. Can the Steelers stay hot here on the road against Detroit as 6.5-point underdogs?
Yeah, big question. That's kind of amazing that they win this game. They put themselves in a good spot. Tomlin's one game away from his streak continuing. They're almost in the playoffs, and yet they're big underdogs against a team that's in trouble now to make the playoffs.
And we're talking about Knicks and Lawrence playing their best games maybe ever. Aaron Rodgers probably coming off his 2 cleanest games, at least of the last couple of years, I would say.
What lunatic did I see claiming that he was going to be a Pro Bowler this year?
Kaboli?
Yeah, that's who it was.
Steelers?
That's who it was.
So
the thing is, he could be right because the Pro Bowl process is such a joke.
But
the idea that Rodgers is a Pro Bowl this year, he's played pretty bad football for most of the year and then had a good game. You're like, he could be a Pro Bowler.
It's like people completely forget what they saw before the last 2 weeks. The last 2 weeks were great, but even early in the season, when the Steelers were winning, and I don't think Rodgers or that offense was good at all, there was still they were comparing that against the Kenny Pickett years and Mitch Trubisky as a starter, and they were just comparing it against previous Steelers quarterbacks, where because Rodgers had he had a couple some late game magic in a couple games that they just hadn't seen in forever. So I think they're skewing towards, this is the best Steelers quarterback since healthy Big Ben.
Right,
and it's kind of true, but that's where a Steelers beat writer's coming from.
Yeah, but watch some other teams. You know what I mean? You see see at least one of them every week when they play the Steelers. You should have a vague idea of what the baseline of the NFL is, and it's higher than that.
Anyway, I don't think Rodgers has had a great year.
No.
But he's playing much better.
I don't think even Rodgers thinks he's had a good year.
32nd in PFF grade, and then his, I mentioned last week, his QBR is in the low 40s.
Yeah.
For the 3rd straight year. But what's happened the last 2 weeks, you get the veterans in there, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, you get Adam Thielen. I think the
Ravens game was genuinely impressive. That was Rodgers playing really well for maybe the first time this year, looking really, really good. And then he made some plays against Miami too. It's
it was fine. I mean, he threw one. I think he had one dropped interception in there that actually could have changed the game.
Right.
Jordan Brooks. But other than that, I thought good command. He's zipping it. He's getting the ball out. He's letting players are in the right spot at the right time. Early in the season, they were dependent on red zone fades to the big guys and check downs to Jalen Warren. That's how the offense was built. Now they have more ways to win offensively.
Yeah, and I will say those last couple of weeks, that difference in Rodgers' play between really not very good for most of the season and pretty good the last 2 weeks, that is the difference between Pittsburgh being it's probably the difference between them winning the division and not. It's also probably the difference between them being able to win a playoff game and just getting bounced and wrecked the first time they play anybody, right?
Absolutely.
Rodgers playing pretty good football with his savvy and his, wealth of experience, and the fact that you've got DK Metcalf there to make plays at the other end and all those things. That difference between him playing crappy football and actually playing pretty well does transform the Steelers from being an afterthought and a punchline to actually being a threat to people.
So it's another test along those lines. And then, Detroit's still favored by just about a touchdown. They're on the outside looking in.
Yep.
As far as the playoff picture goes right now, the number 8 seed, it's fascinating because they could catch. So one of their best paths
is now jumping the Packers.
But it could be the Bears too. If the Bears,
right,
because they play the Bears
right
in Week 18, and the Bears have the Packers, then the Niners, and then the Lions. Like, the Bears have a tough path.
But their two best ways in are now through the division.
It is through the division, right? It's either the Packers or the Bears. Like, if the Packers lose, they'll be 9-5-1, and the Lions could be 9-6 after this game. So it could be Green Bay as well.
NFL.com currently has them at 37% chance to make the playoffs. Even if they win this game, they only get up to 48%, the coin flip.
They pretty much have to win.
Yeah.
Win out here.
If
you're Detroit. So back against the wall, Detroit Lions against a Steelers team riding a little bit of a high. This feels like Tomlin down, calibrated to win 9. He's got to lose this game.
Right.
Well, they got Cleveland next week.
I feel like that's the one he's got to lose, but
Yeah, who knows? Non-division, it's a non-conference game.
Like, what's the game that you would just chalk up a win? That's the one he's going to find a way to lose.
Well, that's the Browns next week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
So, like, Shador is going to go out there.
Shador
is going to go out there and just carve up the Steelers' defense randomly.
Yes, in like a snow game or something in Cleveland. I'm worried about – not worried. I mean, looking at Detroit's run game, they've really struggled on the interior. I mean, it's been – in big games, detrimental to their passing attack at times, run game at times. All that said, Goff was going toe-to-toe with the Rams last week against a good defense with their back against the wall. These are all must-win games now for Detroit. So I think Goff in this passing attack can have some success at home in the Dome against the Steelers, and then the run game with Jahmyr Gibbs, because the Steelers have had some issues with the run game, even though they were better against the Dolphins last week.
Yeah, I would expect Detroit's offense to have some success. The interesting thing, I think, will be the other side of the ball, the Rodgers versus Detroit's defense, because the Lions' defense is kind of it's in bits now. It's banged up. They're missing a ton of players. They're still aggressive with a lot of man coverage on the outside. Like, DK Metcalf's going to be one-on-one against corners a lot in that game. And Rodgers, the last couple of weeks, they've had that connection. Will he just toss the ball in the direction of DK Metcalf and let him go make some plays? And you've got this... they've now got this interesting mix of corners, actually, the Lions, where, you've got some pretty big, strong physical guys that aren't that great. You've also got much smaller guys that may just not be able to match up with a guy like DK Metcalf, but are probably their better corners. It's just a weird collection of corners that they're left with at this point.
So the over-under is 51.5, and dare I say we might see a bit of a shootout? The way Pittsburgh's playing, like you're saying, Rodgers. There's going to be some advantages for DK against those corners. I think Rodgers is going to feed DK, and I think Detroit's going to put some points on the board as well. I think we might see a lot of points in this one. Vegas seems to agree.
Their two sort of primary corners, I guess, at this point, the Lions, are DJ Reed and Amik Robertson, who I think are both 5'9" and like 180.
Yeah.
Each one of those guys is giving up
feisty, but
is giving up basically 45 pounds, and DK's 6'4", so 7 inches of height. God knows how much in reach, and about 45 pounds in weight against DK. And by the way, DK can probably outrun them both.
Yeah,
that's a pretty tough assignment for either one of those guys.
All right, man. We're gonna talk Jahmyr Gibbs and his rushing total in just a second here. But you ready to pick?
Yeah.
Detroit by 6.5 here. 2 8-6 teams. Where are you gonna go?
I'm gonna go with the Detroit Lions to cover that.
Wow. I'll take Pittsburgh. That's a lot of points. The way the Steelers are playing right now for me. So I'll take Pittsburgh, as will Harry. You know how fast NFL game days move? One big play and everything changes. That's why live betting on FanDuel is a game changer. With FanDuel, you can bet in real time while the game unfolds. Score just flipped, you can jump on a new spread or a live money line, or that receiver's heating up. You can bet the next touchdown score or total yards. Think that drive's going to stall in the red zone, where you can take a live field goal prop or fade the total. Live player props, team totals, drive results, updated spreads, next play markets. It's all there. It's fast, it's fun, and with FanDuel, your live bets move as quickly as the game does. So whether you're riding momentum or fading the hype, FanDuel puts you right in the middle of every moment. Visit FanDuel.com/33rd to download the app and bet the NFL live all season long. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with the Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Paid endorsement. Today we're talking Jahmyr Gibbs and his rushing total over under 72.5 rushing yards. Where are you going to go? What are your thoughts on this one? By the way, Pittsburgh might have Derek Harmon back. I'm not a huge fan of Whit out on-off splits, but the Whit out, Derek Harmon, their run defense is much better. Whit, the rookie first-round defensive tackle out of Oregon.
Even though he was largely talked about as a pass rushing kind of specialist coming out, right?
And I don't know if things like his PFF grade are even great against the run, but it is a Whit out thing.
It is.
Where it's been better for Pittsburgh. If you buy into that.
If you're interested in such things. Pittsburgh's run defense generally has been middle of the pack-ish this season, if I'm correct. Neither unremarkable in either direction. Jahmyr Gibbs is only ever one play away from a big explosive play, and the Lions are leaning into him, but they've been doing it a lot more in the pass game. So, I'm going to go, I think he'll get under this rushing total, but his pass game impact will be huge.
Okay, I'll go over on the rushing total. I think they're going to get him the ball in the pass game as well, but in space in the run game as well. So I'll take over the 72.5. Of course, you can go to FanDuel.com/33rd and play today. All right, let's go New England Patriots at the Baltimore Ravens. It's Sunday Night Football. Ravens favored by 2.5 here. They're 7-7 against the 11-3 Patriots. Now, the Patriots fans were feeling disrespected last week as underdogs against the Bills. Turned out to be correct. The 7-7 Ravens are favored at home against the 11-3 Patriots.
Now, that one's disrespectful. Whatever about the Bills, who are still theoretically a legit contender. Like I said, the narrative is if Buffalo doesn't win it this year, the Ravens aren't very good at all right now. So that one is legitimately disrespectful.
Yeah. Bills are a better team than the Ravens, in my opinion.
Agreed.
In Baltimore, I meant to check this. I didn't get a chance to yet. Has Baltimore beaten
anybody?
Yeah, because, I pick on Miami, say, for not beating any good teams. But I only do that because it's a multiple-year story for the Dolphins. The Ravens, they beat the Bears pretty handily, actually. So they beat the Bears. And that's essentially it.
So Sam Hoppen has a composite power rankings list where he takes a bunch of people's, and these are not, I think, in fact, power rankings the old way where it was just a guy sitting there with I believe this team is good. Actual statistically derived power rankings of some description. Power ratings, maybe a better way of describing them. So he's got a whole bunch of these things, 8 or so of them thrown into this hopper. And that spits the Baltimore Ravens out as being the 9th best team in the NFL, which is actually higher than I would have expected them to be.
Are the Patriots higher than that?
No. Patriots are 12th.
Okay. So
now it depends which thing you look at. There are definitely individual composites in here that have the Patriots higher than the Ravens.
It has to be factoring in previous seasons and what's coming from previous seasons. I'm just seeing that Colts logo, by the way, that you're showing.
Yeah, what the hell is that?
I have no idea where that came from.
It's apparently the little subheading of this thing, based on expected spread versus an average team.
And spreads factor in multiple years.
Yeah.
So that's where that comes from, right?
But anyway, it's it's actually more my reading of that is it's more disrespectful. It's the interpretation of that is not that the Baltimore Ravens are better than you think they are. It's that the Patriots are worse than you think they are.
I mean, look, spreads are going to factor in, we know who Lamar Jackson is from multiple years of evidence, not just 1 year. Most people only look at what's happening this year. I think the Patriots are a better team this year. But the question about the Patriots is how many good teams have they beaten? They beat the Bills. They split with the Bills. They beat the Bucs. Haven't beaten a lot of good teams. But for this season, you could say the same thing about Baltimore, right? Baltimore, again, their one win against a team with a winning record is the Bears. And this run that has put them now a game out in the AFC North includes a win against the Bears, and then they beat the Dolphins, Vikings, Browns, Jets, and then, lost to the Bengals, lost to the Steelers, beat the Bengals. So they've been beaten up on bad teams. And they lost to all the good teams. So that's who the Ravens have been this year. And even though we expected them to get back to this point based off what we knew about them previously, based off of their history. They haven't done it the way that they've done it in their history, which is in dominant fashion. Has their defense been better overall? Sure. The offense still missing something.
Yeah, they've basically regressed to the mean in a positive direction to about the point you would have expected them to based off the schedule alone. Right, like their season at this point is almost, what if you just took a rank average football team and made them play 14 games and the first half of those games were really difficult and the second half of those games were really easy? That's kind of where the Ravens have been this year. It's spat out to 500, 7-7, and it's more or less broken down along those lines, like losing to the good teams, beating the bad teams.
It's a fair descriptor because, for the beginning of the year, they played Chiefs, Lions, Bills. They played a lot of tough teams.
But the thing that's different is we would have expected them to bounce back. Not just the amount the schedule dictated, but also some added interest, right? What if they actually started playing better the way we know they've been able to play the last couple of years? And that's the thing that hasn't really happened. Like, they have bounced back, and they are 500, and they put themselves in position to win the division, albeit then threw a bit of that away. But they haven't looked like we expect them to look at any point, really. Like, Lamar Jackson has not looked the same. I don't know what his PFF grade is, but there's no way it's anything like what it was the last couple of years.
68.
Yeah, like they just haven't played like the Ravens.
And I would say New England's biggest question, I think, showed up last week, which is their defense. I would say if you were going to say, hey, New England's played this easier schedule, where do you have some questions? I know the offense was inconsistent in the second half last week against Buffalo, but I would say I've got more faith in New England's offense than I do the defense. I think that's where they maybe weren't tested greatly by a bunch of teams. So, that's a question going forward. I think they have to answer some questions on offense. Can they be more consistent with the run game and not just dependent on big plays from Travion Henderson, who's been outstanding, creating those big plays in, Jamal Charles-like fashion. But, the passing attack and making plays down the stretch against Buffalo, they kind of disappeared. So it's a big game for New England to bounce back, but I have more questions about their defense. But I have just as many questions about Baltimore's offense, where Lamar's still not the same player from a running perspective. You're just not seeing the Ravens offense at their best when it always feels like they have answers, right? They've got power. They have horizontal quickness and speed. They have Lamar's speed. That's when they're at their best, and we just have not felt that at all since maybe week 1 with Baltimore.
I want to see if Drake May can kind of bounce back from last week. That was maybe the worst game of his season, which has been pretty spectacular. A guy that's, still in the MVP race for whatever that's worth. Last week, it's always a difficult game to evaluate where, like, a team gets off to a huge lead, then stalls. You're like, well, if you just looked at overall numbers, their offense put up 300 yards. They ran for a ton. Those things were good, and yet Drake May's part of it was like a Michigan stat line for J.J. McCarthy, only without the efficiency. It was a 14 for 23 for 155 yards without a touchdown.
2 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, now you got the rushing touchdowns. You've also got that play where he runs 60 yards at 22 miles an hour or whatever to block for Travion Henderson. So there's some good stuff in there as well. But it was the first game really this season where he hasn't been very productive and able to put up yards and points more or less at will. Against the Buffalo defense, that hasn't been amazing this year. So, can he bounce back and just go out there and have another really good game against the Ravens defense?
No, it's a fun game because even though the Ravens are 7-7 and maybe not what they were previously, they're at home. They're still a good team. Like, they're still capable of being a good team, even though I think they've underwhelmed this year. Ravens pass rush has not been great this season. We've seen some signs of life from Mike Green off the edge in recent weeks. I think that's something to keep an eye on. The Ravens' overall defense has been better, but again, they're not creating havoc like they have in past seasons. I think New England has a chance to get their offense back on track here in this game. Anything else for Patriots-Ravens Sunday Night Football? I think it'll be a fun one.
Yep, should be good.
11-3 Patriots getting 2.5 at Baltimore, over under 47.5. Where are you going to go with this one?
I'm going to go with the Patriots. I believe that line to be straight disrespect.
I'll take New England as well. Not because it's disrespectful. It's fine. But New England bounces back. Big one for Vrabel, too. Just from a coaching perspective, coming off the division loss. Still have a game lead over Buffalo in the AFC East. New England. I'll take the Patriots. And then, by the way, they have the Dolphins and Jets to finish the season.
You would assume they lock it up.
They have a pretty good path
to the
AFC East here. Harry's also going to take the Patriots here. That's Sunday Night Football. Then we have Monday Night Football, San Francisco 49ers at the Indianapolis Colts. First home game for Phillip Rivers.
For old man Rivers.
San Francisco favored by 6.5 here, over under 46.5 for Monday Night Football.
This, I think, is really interesting for a variety of reasons. Not just because old man Rivers is getting the start again, but because of how he performed last week coupled with the 49ers defense. Now, I'm not saying he was good last week, and this is this interesting world of nuance that nobody wants to live in, right? Like Jeff Pearlman was out there being like, why are the announcers not being honest about what we're looking at, which is not good football from Phillip Rivers. Like, yeah, but if the expectation is that Rivers is going to go out there and be murdered by a Seahawks defense because he's 44 years old and a grandfather and kind of pudgy, like relative to those expectations, he's doing pretty well. Relative to like what would happen if you put a real quarterback out here, that was not so good. So there's that world, right? Because you got all these former players being like, this is incredible what Rivers is doing, right? And yet, if you just drop somebody there who's like, casually watches football but is not in deep in the weeds knowing what's going on, you just said, is this guy playing particularly well? They'd be like, nah. This is, So you've got
perspective of like the standard NFL quarterback versus a 44-year-old
versus a guy who's just rolled literally off the couch. Anyway,
because he's incapable of standing up.
But now he gets to go up against the 49ers defense, shorn of all of its good players and with no pass rush. Like last week, a huge part of the plan is Phillip Rivers, based off his knowledge and experience and him being boys with Shane Steichen since their Chargers days. He knows this offense. He can get the ball out of his hands lightning quick, and he can negate, everything that the Seahawks want to do in terms of wrecking his day. And that was the plan, right? The ball came out in 2.4 seconds on average. The ball traveled 5 yards downfield on average. Like it was the game plan effectively that the Commanders ran against the Broncos, a few weeks ago. Like, let's get the ball out fast. Let's not take away the pass rush, right? So he did that, and he did that pretty well. And then, by the way, let's give a healthy dose of the football to Jonathan Taylor, and that's the game plan. Against the 49ers, we might see something significantly more expansive because you're not worried about the 49ers pass rush. You're like, nah, hold on to the ball as long as you want. They're not going to get home. Don't worry about it. And now you might start to see, okay, well, what does Rivers have in his arm? Because that's the one thing that didn't look great last week is anytime he actually tried to put some juice on the ball, it didn't look spectacular. He made there were quite a lot of completions on like out routes where every single one of them was left a yard and a half further inside than it should have been. And his receivers still made the plays because they're good receivers. But that's a dangerous game to be playing. If like every outbreaking route you're playing is consistently left slightly further inside than you want it to be because your arm isn't quite what it used to be, that's pixies for the NFL.
It always reminds me of, I thought Kellen Moore could have played in the NFL.
Yeah.
If given more opportunity and with no arm whatsoever. And you have to play that much quicker, that much faster, with that much more anticipation. That was Rivers, right? He was almost playing too fast at times last week, right? He knew Josh Downs had a one-on-one. He saw right off the snap Josh Downs got a step, and he just threw it up. But he threw it at, too far inside where Downs was expecting it outside, and he threw it inside, whatever it was. So he's going to throw it early and often. And I think you're right. Like, he might be able to hold on to it a little bit more against San Francisco rather than Seattle.
Yeah.
Let things develop.
But I don't even know, based off his current physical ability, if that's a good thing.
I know.
Is he actually only useful now for that game plan of like, just get it out fast, read it, get it out, gone?
Probably.
Or if you give him time and say, all right, let's tool up, Phillip. What do you have now that you can see the defense with a bit of time to work with and attempt some more exotic passes? Like, do you still have the arm to do that, or is that going to get you into more trouble than last week when your entire game plan was to just get it out of your hands?
I think Rivers can have a lot more success here. Again, I think the Niners are a fascinating team at 10-4, given all of the defensive injuries. The defense, just not having faith in their defense generally, even though they've put together some good games. I think he can have some more success. They were so conservative last week, not only throwing the ball down the field, but handing it off to Jonathan Taylor. I think they open it up a bit more at home against a lesser defense versus compared to Seattle.
And that's not a criticism. It's just that was probably the smart way of approaching that defense.
And they did all that, and I don't know what this effect has, but for whatever reason, the rest of the team played better too.
Yeah.
Right? They made huge stops in the red zone. They made huge stops to just force field goals
They
for
did
Seattle,
the thing
and they
that
made it a close game.
Maybe it's just the veteran. Maybe this is the difference between if you're going to have subpar quarterback play, at least have it be a veteran that everyone's got confidence in, is rooting for. Like the difference between that and an inexperienced young quarterback who you have no confidence in.
Yeah.
Like that's what we've been calling for the Vikings to be doing all season long for J.J. McCarthy. It's like, yeah, he's not helping you out. He's not playing particularly well. So you need to up your game. You're Justin Jefferson. You're the best receiver in the game. Go and act like it. Right? Go and catch one of these slightly off-target passes. Like that catch that he has one of the greatest catches in NFL history on his resume. That play that he made against Buffalo, where's that this year?
4th and 18,
right?
one hand.
Now, okay, that's an unrealistic bar to be setting, right? Go and make one of the greatest catches in NFL history every week. But, like, if you're capable of doing that, why are you dropping a slightly off-target pass that J.J. McCarthy finally gets in your vague general direction? Like, you need to go help him out. Everybody on the Colts team last week was like, we're going to make an extra play to help out Old Man Rivers. And it worked.
They're going to need to do it again against San Francisco.
Again.
Brock Purdy currently, by some measures, number 1 in EPA per play.
By some measures.
Now, by some EPA measures. I don't know. They're all different.
I love that it's different. That's the one area where, like,
Well, people, either there's adjusted EPA, there's some people factor in fumbles differently. I don't know. They make all these different adjustments. But Purdy's playing, EPA-wise, pretty clean football, avoiding sacks, getting the ball out, getting to the playmakers, doing a nice job. And now the Niners have 2 quarterbacks in their top 10 to 12 in EPA per play, Brock Purdy and Mac Jones. And so they've done that with, I think McCaffrey's been a high-volume runner, but not really explosive this year. It's like if you look at his rushing yards over expectation, it's pretty poor. But you get high volume. It's kind of like he's become like a Leonard Fournette, like just kind of whatever's there. Same draft class, right?
I was going to say, that's disrespectful given the way
But that's what McCaffrey's become. He's catching the ball well out of the backfield, but Niners are moving the ball through the air with Purdy, doing a nice job. The Colts are going to have to step up and play well defensively like they did last week against Seattle.
Yeah, their defense last week was really impressive. And again, how much of that is Darnold has had this bit of a downturn since he played the Rams. But yeah, their defense, I think, needs to show up this week because the 49ers offense is still cooking. Like, that's the side of the ball that's in really good shape and still dominating and still has talent everywhere. I mean, you've still got George Kittle and Ricky Pearsall has really stepped up. Juwan Jennings is there, Christian McCaffrey through the air. Also, what he's doing on the ground. Like, the 49ers offense is still as good as it's ever been, even though they've lost a couple players down the years. It's the fact that their defense no longer has basically anybody good. So that's where this game is fascinating. Like, that strength on strength, I think, 49ers offense against the Colts defense who's coming off a good game.
Lou Anarumo.
Yeah.
With
and then
cornerback injuries.
The other side of the ball is Old Man Rivers versus no pass rush. Like, what does that look like?
What do you think Troy can be critical of quarterbacks when they don't play well? I feel like he's going to have a glowing assessment
of Old Man Rivers?
Of what Rivers is doing.
Yeah. No, I think so. I think everyone.
And Troy's going to be like, I'm almost his age. I can't imagine being 44 just rolling out there and doing what he's doing.
Everyone that has played, with the possible exception of Tom Brady, I think would be extremely complimentary about what OMR is doing. Troy, I think, would definitely be all about it.
OMR.
Yeah. Brady, maybe less so. Did you see, by the way, we never covered this, that
Brady was an MVP kid. Probably should have won MVP at age 44, by the way.
Rivers was like months away from the medical insurance that you get for 5 years after you stop playing in the NFL, like that come and due. And a lot of NFL players were like, honestly, that might be why we're seeing this. How much of a factor do you think that was for Rivers?
I don't think it's that much of a factor.
Because the man's got 10 kids, and a wife and himself. I'm sure he's got some stuff wrong.
2 of them are already out of the house, I think.
But, like, they're still covered in the policy, I would assume.
That's true.
Because, like, people are like, he's made millions in his career. Like, what does he need that? I mean, sure. On the other hand, you live in America, where if you don't have medical insurance and anything wrong with you, that bill's pretty steep pretty quickly. You get a family of 12.
Hey, Shane, keep me in mind.
I'm just saying, if you
health
knew that you
insurance
could come back,
is running out soon.
If you knew that you could come back for a couple of weeks and that would get you 5 more years of the medical insurance, that's not an insignificant financial bonus.
No, I'm sure it was a small part. Small part of it. It's Monday night. By the way, I'll be on the road. You'll be getting ready to get on the road. We will not have an instant reaction to this.
No, that's
Monday
true.
Night.
He also, by the way, he said that he was like, somebody asked him, like, what was it like getting hit for the first time in 5 years, whatever. He's like, honestly, I've been jonesing for that for years. He's like, my wife thinks I'm crazy because I was like sitting on the couch being like, man, I'd love to go out there and just get hit one more time. She's like, that's not normal, right? And it's not. I've definitely felt the urge to want to hit somebody before.
But not get hit.
Not get hit. Yeah, I've like missed. I can't play flag football.
I know he's not there physically.
Right.
And maybe teams didn't want him. But he was having so much fun
out
there.
Yeah.
I am curious how this has taken 5 years for it to happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've said he was going to play for the 49ers that year where they had Christian McCaffrey playing quarterback in the NFC Championship game. Like, if they made it to a Super Bowl.
Pursuing this more?
I mean, I think a lot of it is like there's not that many teams that are desperate enough to be calling a 40-something-year-old quarterback who's kind of pudgy off the bench. You know what I mean? I think it needs a fairly specific set of circumstances for him to be involved in that. But I do, like I can't play flag football because you want to hit people. And I'm like, I don't like playing this game if I'm not allowed to deliver a hit at the end of it. I haven't missed getting the hit, though. That's where it's one of the few differences between Phillip Rivers and me. He's apparently been jonesing to get hit.
Couldn't wait to get hit.
Right.
Might not happen against
that is a
San
little
Francisco's
weird.
pass rush, though.
That's true. He may not get hit in the entire game.
All right, Niners by 6.5 here Monday night. Where are you going to go?
I'm going to bet on OMR to cover that line.
Man, I'm gonna do it for Zennials everywhere.
He's
taking Indy.
He's right on the borderline between being legit Gen X. That's crazy.
Yeah,
those guys are like boomers now. Even though that's an oxymoron.
He's technically Gen X, but he's in the Zen.
No, he's not. I think he's a year into.
Oh, no, okay.
He's the first year of millennial.
That's what it is.
But he's like a year away from being legit Gen X, where those guys don't even remember, those guys had like an entire lifetime before phones and the internet and stuff.
Riding with OMR. I'll take Indy to cover 6.5. Niners win.
I don't even know if they'll win, but.
And Harry's going to take Indy as well. Look at that. He knows. Tampa Bay Bucks at the Carolina Panthers. We've been looking forward to this one for a while. Tampa by 3 on the road in Carolina, the first of 2 matchups over the next 3 weeks with the NFC South on the line. Just a couple 7-7 first place NFC South teams.
Yeah. It's amazing that we got to that point from early in the season where the Bucks looked like they were running away from the division. The Panthers are just being schizophrenic and winning random games, losing random games. And it's converged. And now this is a legitimate series, home and away, for the division.
And both teams coming off of very disappointing games. Remember, Carolina had a chance. So if Carolina had beaten the Saints last week, they would have been in position here to just win and in.
Right.
This would be for the division. The Week 18 game wouldn't even have mattered if Carolina won. But they lose to New Orleans last week, and Tampa Bay coming off of their disappointing loss against Atlanta, where they had a 14-point lead into the fourth quarter, lose by 1 to Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. Tampa showing some weakness from a pass coverage perspective.
Yeah, I mean, they're both, it's a chaotic game. They're both showing all kinds of flaws, left, right, and center. The Panthers are just random. Like, who knows what they're going to be in any given week. The Buccaneers, I think, are more predictable, but have shown problems. Like, that pass game, really, since Baker Mayfield got injured, it's interesting because I don't think he's shown, like, any significant overt outward signs of being hurt the way he did when he wrecked his shoulder with the Browns that time.
By the way, I believe he's off the injury report.
Right. So it's not like the Browns situation where like he was visibly hurt for that entire stretch and making it worse by playing. He's not, I don't think, shown any signs of that. And he's still taking hits and he's still scrambling and he's still basically playing the same stylistically. But he hasn't been playing as well. And that's kind of a problem. Like, you had Baker Mayfield playing high-end football the first half of the season. The second half, it hasn't been the same. And it's kind of coincided with the injury, and maybe it's just been a downturn during which he got hurt.
It had started before.
Yeah.
Though.
So it's hard. It's always hard to pinpoint these things. But the general point being, even though the offensive line is now healthy relative to early in the season, and even though now you're getting Mike Evans back and Chris Godwin's there and McMillan is back and Ibuka is still there and Tez Johnson is still there, and suddenly this receiving core is kind of what it was supposed to be heading into the year, Baker isn't playing as well, and that's maybe more important than all of those guys being back and healthy at the same time. Which is really, this is a great case study for the power and importance of the quarterback, right? That you can have, 8 guys back healthy and, essentially new additions to the offense relative to previous points in the season. And none of it matters if the quarterback takes a significant downturn in his level of play. Baker, on his own, is able to offset the addition of 8 bodies.
He is. Now, look, the first 3 quarters of the game, it was like, all right, this offense is back on track. Baker throws a fourth-quarter interception, helps allow the comeback for the Falcons. So I think it's close. I still think it's close, and it's there. They kind of collapsed last week. But having all of those receivers back, Evans had a huge game. Baker and Ibuka, it is strange. They were so locked in early in the season. I mean, there were some throws that Baker made to Ibuka, which were incredible. They've just not been connecting in recent weeks here. Really, since Ibuka's injury and Baker's injury, it's been rough. But I think they're capable of getting back on track from a pass game perspective. I think they showed it for at least a bit against Atlanta.
They're definitely capable, yeah. I mean, there's too much talent there and too much of a track record of them being good when they are together for it to just completely disappear. Ibuka's dropped some passes. That doesn't feel like something that will continue. That wasn't a trait of his game necessarily coming into the league. And then the ones where it's like the Jefferson, J.J. McCarthy thing. One of them is screwing up on every play. Doesn't matter which one, but they time them. Either Ibuka drops a perfect pass thrown to him in the end zone, or the next time it's Baker leaving it yard behind him on a crossing route where he's wide open. They're just alternating who makes a mistake.
Other side, I think Bryce Young's played pretty well overall. 3 out of the last 4 weeks. Remember, he had a stretch of awful game, good game, awful game, good game, coinciding with the Panthers winning and losing. Their wins and losses have also coincided with turnover implosions, right? Some crossover there. I think last week, I can't remember if they had any turnovers last week, but that's not the reason why they lost. Almost every other game, you could say, the Niners game, they forced some turnovers, but they had a bunch. Red zone interception, the whole thing. Saints game, Bills, Patriots, you can go back and say, man, they turned it over a ton in chunks, and most of the time in the first half. That's where the Panthers have lost so many of their games. And then, how have they won? Well, pulling off the turnovers that they got against the Rams, shortening the game against the Packers. We've talked about the Panthers being very confusing all season because they'll step up in some big games and then they'll kind of lay an egg week to week. What are we expecting from Carolina this week?
Giving up trying to predict it. I have no idea what you're going to get from the Panthers in any given week. Last week, Bryce Young started off absolutely in his bag, feeling it, making plays on third down, some spectacular plays, and then wasn't there for the rest of it.
He's been incredibly inconsistent week to week and then within a game, as you're showing, as you're saying. So I think it's a fun matchup here. I think Carolina could do a decent job against the Bucs run game. I hate to oversimplify. It comes down to these quarterbacks making plays. Which Baker Mayfield do we get? Which Bryce Young do we get? Because you would split Baker's season into 2 and say the first 5 or 6 weeks he was getting MVP hype because of how he was throwing the ball and scrambling and just finding ways.
With no help.
Right. Finding ways to make it happen despite offensive line issues. And then he's tapered off and not been the same. So you'd call him inconsistent from a split the season in half standpoint. You'd call Bryce Young inconsistent because week to week you don't know what you're going to get from him. Sometimes he's balling and feeling it and doesn't care, and he's putting up a career high everything against the Falcons in pretty much a must-win game, and then the next week awful against the Niners. You don't know what you're going to get week to week with Bryce Young.
Yeah, and I will say all of a sudden, both supporting casts are in pretty good shape. Tampa Bay, everybody's gotten healthy, and Carolina, the offensive line was already good. The receiving core with the addition of Jalen Coker coming back.
Coker's looking good.
Yeah, it's really made a difference to them. And suddenly, there's help everywhere for both these quarterbacks.
So division's on the line 2 out of these next 3 weeks. I don't know the leverage of the games in between, but, obviously if one team sweeps, they're winning the division here, Bucs and Panthers. But it's a huge game. NFC South.
Yep.
Leaders, where are you going to go with this one? Bucs favored by 3.
Who the hell knows what you're going to get with Carolina? I'm going to start off saying Tampa Bay, but who knows?
Give me the Panthers. Panthers, because they're underdogs at home. Home dog Panthers.
Because I like in my brain the inconsistency is a negative thing, so I'm associating that with losing the game, even though it's just it's a randomizer, not an actual negative. They could either stomp the Bucs or get beaten easily. I don't know which either one of those things has a greater chance of happening, but the fact that they're equally likely to happen annoys me, which is why I pick it against them.
I know that neither team is a powerhouse, but it'll be a fun game with everything on the line on Sunday at 1 o'clock. I'll take Carolina, as will Harry. Los Angeles Chargers at the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys favored by 2.5 here Sunday at 1. Right? When we talk about who's favored, who's the underdog here,
Vegas just
the
can't
disrespect of, say, the Patriots against the Ravens.
Just can't quit the Cowboys.
Cannot quit the Cowboys Sunday. Buried Sunday at 1, by the way. They're not on primetime this week.
Wow. I mean, that's the biggest disrespect. Dallas Cowboys not being in the prime spot.
Over under 49.5. Chargers coming off their huge win 16-13 last week against the Chiefs, knocking the Chiefs out of the playoffs. Chargers defense against this Cowboys offense should be a fun matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I think both sides of the ball will be pretty interesting for different reasons. The Chargers defense was really good last week. The Cowboys offense generally has been the one consistently good element of this team. They've been carrying the team as far as it's gotten. That I think will be a pretty interesting matchup. Like the Chargers, they're a weird team because they have the weakest personnel group on paper of a lot of these sort of high-end defenses, and yet they're able to consistently get good play out of these guys. But you're now going up against this legitimately incredibly talented Dallas offense where you got George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott cooking. Can you actually do the same thing?
You mentioned what Herbert's doing, and we can have nuanced conversations where we could say this quarterback's playing great and he doesn't have to be the MVP. Like it's not just MVP or bust. But Herbert, given I saw the chart this week, I think it was ESPN's pass rush win rate and PFF's pass rush grade, and the Chargers are in the bottom left quadrant with like the Browns, the Raiders, like all the worst teams in the league. And all those other teams are terrible. And the Chargers are sitting here with 10 wins. And we talked about it the other day. Like what Herbert's doing behind that line is really impressive.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean he has to win MVP because he's not with the stats that he has. He's just not going to.
But I think you could argue that he deserves it. I think it's fair to say the MVP award does not always go to. I mean, how do you quantify this? Is why the award frustrates the living crap out of me.
You're a voter. Don't lose it.
How do you quantify the value element of most valuable player? Like, I think you can easily argue that because Justin Herbert has one of the worst pass blocking situations in football, what he's doing this season is more valuable than a theoretically higher level of play based off certain statistics or more wins that other quarterbacks have because they have a better pass blocking situation in front of them, right? I think that's a perfectly reasonable argument to make. And even though I made it coming out of the last show, I saw Benjamin Solak, I think, made a similar argument. Like, people are starting to get on this. I'm choosing to believe that I started the ball rolling on this Justin Herbert MVP wagon, and other people are now jumping on board. Or it's just, simultaneous evolution of thought. But the point is, people are all coming to the same, all of them, they're coming to the same conclusion that right now Justin Herbert's an MVP caliber quarterback.
Part of the reason there, I mean, when you just watched that game last week, they scored only 16 points. But when you see the throw that he had just before the half to Keandre Lambert-Smith in the back of the end zone, when they needed to run the clock, to run out the clock with a lead late, and he's just making good decision after good decision. When you see him in, say, the Eagles game, when he's under pressure seemingly 3/4 of the time and he's scrambling for a first down or a keeper for a first down. By the way, he's tied for third in the league in rushing first downs among quarterbacks. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and then Herbert and Jackson Dart.
For a guy that has zero design runs, effectively.
Yeah, a couple. Zero. He's had a couple.
Right, not zero.
Right? They've snuck a few.
Never say zero. For a guy that has basically no design run game element to him, it's almost all him taking off and scrambling.
Yes. So he is making do with what he has.
Yeah.
Behind a makeshift offensive line. We've talked about Mahomes, and it's like, well, Mahomes is using, he's got backup tackles and third-string tackles. That's been Herbert's season, right? Has been backups and third-stringers on that offensive line. So I think if we're talking about the playoffs, that could come back. I mean, it's going to come back to bite at some point.
Sure.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it puts a ceiling on them.
The defense has been fantastic these last 2 seasons, really, under Jesse Winter.
I do think that this is why it was sort of a bummer when they lost all of those offensive linemen. You're like, it feels like there are certain injuries where it's like that probably limits your chances of winning a Super Bowl, right? For the Chargers, the offensive line. For Green Bay, losing Micah Parsons, you're like, yeah, I mean, you're still good. You're still in contention. I feel like that might be the difference between can you win a Super Bowl or not, right? The Chargers, the same thing. Once they lost so many offensive linemen, you're like, Herbert's playing like an MVP right now. You're still able to win games. You still might make the playoffs. You still might make the playoffs with a good seeding. I don't know that you can go on that run anymore, though, because of those injuries. So, like, the Chargers, are one of the worst pass blocking situations in the NFL. Dallas's defense is generally terrible. It's middle of the pack in terms of pressure rate. Herbert should be able to have some success.
On the other side, Dallas, they like 1 loss away from being eliminated?
Yes,
here?
They have a less than 1% chance of making the playoffs.
I think they need to win out, and the Eagles need to lose out.
Yes,
to win the East. So still playing for something, kind of, maybe. But they're coming off their disappointment. Like we thought maybe they had turned a corner. Defense is not necessarily.
The Eagles game is Saturday, so they will know heading into this game.
Oh, that's true.
If they have anything at all to play for.
They need the Commanders to sweep the Eagles 2 out of the next 3 weeks.
Correct.
So,
but more importantly, they need them to win on Saturday for them to even be alive.
But either way, they're not. I mean, it was like Dan Campbell a couple years ago when the Lions were out and they were still playing. They're going to play.
Sure.
They said they're going to play. Disappointment last week against Minnesota, though. Defense got torched by J.J. McCarthy.
Yep.
And, that's going to, still a question on that side of the ball. And it'll be fun watching Dak in this passing attack against a tough Chargers defense the way they play. Yeah,
I mean, they've gone back to kind of where they were earlier in the season, which is the offense is great, the defense is pretty terrible, and that's the team right now, right? Now, so can their defense make enough plays against a really banged-up Chargers offensive line for them to turn the ball over maybe or just generally crap them out on a couple of drives? Or can their offense be so good and so productive against a good Chargers defense that they're able to win in a shootout or have more success than their defense gives up?
Last aspect, I don't know if there's any kind of letdown for the Chargers. They're coming off of the Eagles Monday night overtime win, and then the Chiefs game the following Sunday. I think the Eagles game, Harbaugh's just hilarious. He was like, this was like the greatest win in like the history of wins or something. And he probably felt the same about the Chiefs. Is there any kind of emotional letdown, just like a random 1 o'clock game at Dallas?
Jim Harbaugh is Joe Rogan. Like everything is the greatest since the last time I said it was the greatest.
This is the best win I've ever had.
Yeah.
Right behind the national title.
The Chargers are in an interesting spot because they kind of locked up the playoffs effectively with that win.
Yeah.
They're still
currently the 5 seed right now at 10-4 tied with the Bills.
They theoretically could miss the playoffs if catastrophe happened, but effectively they've locked it in, right? However, they are currently sitting in the 5 seed, and we've been saying for a while the 5 seed is where you want to be because that's the team that has to go and play either Pittsburgh or Baltimore in what looks like the worst playoffs team in the AFC. So there's value to wanting to keep the 5 seed as opposed to, we've made the playoffs. That's the only thing that matters. Now we can kind of ease off.
There is.
It's like, no, you want to keep that 5 seed because that's the easiest matchup in the first round you're going to be playing. So that is it's an interesting incentive for them to keep their foot on the gas.
Anyway, fun matchup. Dallas favored by 2.5, despite being just 6-7-1 against the 10-4 Chargers team. Where are you going to go with this one?
Yeah, and for some reason I'm picking Dallas.
Yeah, I'll take Dallas as well. I just think it's going to be tough for the Chargers to look. Dallas is still a tough team. They should, they're still a tough team, despite their record. I'll take the Cowboys.
Despite all evidence to the contrary, they're still a tough team.
Not all evidence, just some evidence. Harry's taking the Chargers, though. He still believes.
The
Chargers are going to have no letdown here this week. All right, quick break to talk about IM8, today's sponsor. It's getting me through. IM8 is getting me through.
You need it now more than ever.
I was sick yesterday, got no focus. How am I getting through the show? It's with IM8. We lose track of sleep. We go live at 7 a.m. every Monday. It's tough to keep those energy levels up, but that's where IM8's daily ultimate essentials come in. It's a daily all-in-one wellness drink that gives my body the support it needs without juggling a bunch of different supplements. Co-founded by David Beckham, and crafted with insights from experts at Mayo Clinic, Cedars-Sinai, and a former NASA chief scientist. It simplifies your wellness routine and makes it easier to support your health. The drink's loaded with 92 nutrient-rich ingredients and is designed to help you feel good from the inside out. What makes IM8 stand out is how it combines science with nature. They use effective ingredients and back them with research. Plus, it's been through clinical trials where 95% of participants felt more energetic and 85% said their digestion improved. It's vegan, gluten-free, non-GMO. It's NSF certified, which means all the ingredients are third-party tested for purity, and you can feel confident about what you're putting into your body, making it a solid choice if you're focused on your health. So I needed it today, Sam. I needed that for the 3-hour show of focus, taking my IM8. Glad I'm not out yet.
Oh, you got to get the body recovering after the plague that swept through the Palazzolo household.
No better way to do that than with IM8. Feel your best self every day with IM8. Go to im8health.com/CTM and use code CTM for a free welcome kit, 5 free travel sachets, plus 10% off your order. That's IM8HEALTH.com/CTM, code CTM for a free welcome kit, 5 free travel sachets, plus 10% off your order. im8health.com/CTM, code CTM. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. All right, man, rest of the games, almost no playoff implications.
Yay.
Literally every single one except Buffalo. So we may go quicker.
All right.
Minnesota Vikings at the New York Giants. What are you looking for? The 6-8 Vikings and the 2-12 Giants. Vikings favored by 2.5 here.
Yeah, it's the same thing you're looking for, I think. It's Jackson Dart against Brian Flores. And really any young quarterback against Flores defense. I think it is the most complex, difficult to diagnose defense in the NFL. There's been this whole discussion this week about, pure progression reads from quarterbacks versus sort of cutting down the field in half. Kirk Cousins had a really interesting 60, 90-second clip on this when he was asked at his press conference. Brian Flores is why that's a thing, because everything he shows you is a disguise. It's like your entire life is trying to work out, all right, the pre-snap picture is basically irrelevant. The pre-snap picture every single time is going to be 0, but that's not what he's showing me that's not what's actually being run in every single play. So the first second or two of every play is the quarterback trying to work out, all right, what am I actually looking at now?
And this is the debate, if you're following along on Twitter, someone like Kurt Warner is more in the coverage read, half-field read a defender type of world, and that was what Cousins was saying. It's like when I first came in, it was like, all right, most reads were if it's too high, go this way.
Yeah.
One high, go that way.
Saying based off basically
now
the
that's
safety.
so blended,
right.
It's really tough to do that.
He's like based off basically the safety, you would cut down to one side of your offensive play or not. One side was designed for one safety look, the other side was designed for the other safety look effectively, and then you have like a 2-receiver read and your check down. And so you cut the field in half immediately, but then defenses knew that's what you're doing, and they became so good at disguising that safety picture, or at least just muddying the look pre-snap, that you got so, and this is perfect Cousins as well, by the way. He was like, I got so far inside my own head of being like, I don't even know what I'm looking at anymore. Like, safety, is he center? Is he just off to the side? Like, what? Just paralyzed himself with his own, internal monologue on this. And you take that, and you're like, well, Flores is now, every time he's showing you is basically 0. There's no safety anywhere. And yet you could be looking at cover 2, you could be looking at cover 3, you could be looking at quarters, you could be looking at 0. It could be anything. So it's a nightmare for a quarterback. Everything Cousins was talking about that he started off running with Michigan State, gone. Can't do any of that against Flores.
But then the counter to that is pure progression or full field reads, where you might start on one side of the field, but you're always going 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. And going through it. And then I think Cousins did a good job summing it up, where it's like, well, knowing coverage certainly helps too, because you go through your progression and you're going to cancel things faster. So interesting times talking about quarterback play in the NFL and how things have maybe changed over these last few years. But Flores, like Vic Fangio's done a really good job of disguising safeties, and overall safety disguise, or just, back-end disguise from defenses is way up over these last couple of years, which is it changes the way quarterbacks have to play. It just changes things.
It's so fascinating because it's not like it's a cheat code for just elite defense. Flores' defense is good, but it's not like this is the best defense in the NFL by a mile. Like this is working, better than anybody else. But it does mean that this is like the most difficult defense to diagnose and deal with on a weekly basis. And I think that's particularly problematic for young quarterbacks that just don't have the wealth of experience. Like J.J. McCarthy or Jackson Dart or any of these young guys have dramatically better physical tools than Old Man Rivers right now. But I imagine Old Man Rivers is significantly better equipped to just diagnose this defense every single play. Just let him drop back and like a second and a half into the play, if you could go, what is it, right? Rivers knows more than they do because he's just seen everything more than they do. So Flores' defense is like it's producing pressure at as good a rate as anybody. It's right up there with the Broncos' defense. I think it's by far the most difficult defense to just diagnose on a given basis. But that doesn't mean it's unstoppable, and you can still run on this defense. You can still attack it in terms of if you actually get it right, if you read it correctly. Again, eventually you're going to be one-on-one with a guy that's not that great on the back end because the talent level of this defense isn't necessarily spectacular in certain areas. So it's not like it's the perfect defense, but it's so fascinating because schematically it is unique. It's often its own little quadrant. You see these nerds every now and again, just they put everybody into it's not a heat map. What is it?
Scatter plot?
Yeah, but it's like, and it's designed specifically just to group things by style, right?
Clusters.
Yeah. So the Vikings, the Flores defense is basically just off on its own little point that doesn't exist. Like it's the most unique defense in the NFL.
Other side, we got J.J. McCarthy coming off of his best 2 games at Washington or against Washington a couple weeks ago, and then certainly the way he played against Dallas on Sunday night.
Yep.
Zipping the ball all around the yard. You look pretty good. And, the story of the rest of the Vikings and Giants season really is going to be the development of J.J. McCarthy, the development of Jackson Dart, the health of Jackson Dart in particular. I'm just watching how these young quarterbacks progress here down the stretch.
Yeah, can J.J. McCarthy keep this going? And then there's also, can he get on the same page with Justin Jefferson? I thought one thing was kind of interesting that in that game, they said that one of the things that Kevin O'Connell had said to them is that, all right, obviously the season's done at this point. One of the big things they're working on, I forget what he had a name for it. It was like Project JJ or something. But they were like, and I was like, I assumed that meant make J.J. McCarthy not suck. But actually what it meant was Justin Jefferson needs to hit 1,000 receiving yards so that he can keep his Mike Evans streak going. And right now he's at 832 and is not ticking away at a huge rate.
He could do that in one game. He's got this.
Well, he can, but his last week was 22. The week before that was 11. The week before that was 4. Like we're not getting to 1,000 particularly quickly at this rate. So
do you see how low a standard of 1,000 is that you can have that many games and still be
right? You can be like pretty terrible for a lot of the season and still have like you'd be one game away at the end of the year. But the point is, a lot of their focus right now, openly, is how do we get the ball in Justin Jefferson's hands, and what do we do to make that happen? And by the way, if we can like coincide that with making J.J. McCarthy be okay, that would be great. But the focus is how do we get Justin Jefferson to 1,000 yards?
And, if J.J. McCarthy finishes really strong here, we had this conversation a couple weeks ago, and you basically wrote it off as
poo-pooed it.
You did. Can he finish strong and give them confidence going into next year? We've got 2 good games against Washington, against Dallas.
Uh-huh.
The Giants don't have a great defense either.
Right.
But can he finish? That's 2 out of 5 games, though. Right? 3 more games. If it's a 5-game stretch of success.
They have already been making noises about the veteran addition that they're going to make in the offseason to add competition to this quarterback room. It is interesting. The Giants game, unfortunately for them, they finish with Detroit and Green Bay, so it gets tougher. It would be kind of funny if they finish with like 5 garbage defenses and you're running.
Just tear it up.
Well, no, you're running into an offseason with like J.J. McCarthy on the back of a 5-game streak where he's looked really good, which could almost be 100% explained by just who he faced. That would be kind of funny, but that's probably not going to happen based off the last 2 games.
But something to keep an eye on. Project JJ.
Project
2 young
JJ.
Quarterbacks. Jonathan Grenard and Josh Metellus both out. They're both placed on IR. We're at that time of the season where you're under 4 weeks left. If someone's placed on IR, it's ending their season. Players aren't going to play through injury because they're out of the playoff picture, so Minnesota's going to be down a couple starters there.
Yeah, and we said that coming out of the last game that Grenard went down, and that game was clutching his arm, was already dealing with something. It was already in a sling, or not a sling, a brace. So yeah, that's proven to be season-ending for him.
All right, Vikings by 2.5 here. Where are you going to go?
Where am I going to go? I'm going to go with Minnesota in the rare non-emotional hedge pick for me.
I'll also take Minnesota, as will Harry. Cincinnati Bengals at the Miami Dolphins. Bengals favored by 4.5, and we did not get to respond to this yesterday with the canceled show. But Tua Tagovailoa has been benched.
Yeah.
Quinn Ewers will be making his first NFL start for the Dolphins.
Just made Zach Wilson frustrated.
The over-under, that can't be right, 47.5? I know the Bengals defense is awful, but that feels high.
They've gone straight from QB1 to QB3 on the depth chart, bypassing Zach Wilson, according to Barry Jackson, who's some beat reporter. Where is he? Miami Herald. Zach Wilson says it's frustrating that he didn't get the starting job, and he's a little confused as to why. But he'll be a good teammate, and he'll do what's asked of him. I mean, I can think of a few reasons why you've bypassed Zach Wilson as a starting quarterback based off what we've seen from him so far in his career. You know? It's not like this is completely crazy. Like, we've seen you play before, Zach, and it hasn't been good.
I mean, they're just trying to get the...
Now, my expectations are that the play from Quinn Ewers will also be not good. So, from that perspective, I'm on your side. But let's not act like this is totally crazy, you know? Why would they possibly overlook me based off my career so far?
I was definitely curious about Zach Wilson and Mike McDaniel's offense, to be honest. I was...
Right, but it's one of those ones where the fact that Mike McDaniels isn't curious is probably just some signal in that.
I know. Clearly, they wanted to go with the younger player in Quinn Ewers. I know you weren't a huge fan of Ewers coming out of Texas.
Sure.
But former 5-star plus prospect.
Yeah.
I thought there were a few games, and like when you were making your case for Quinn Ewers, the prospect, you'd say, well, the game against Michigan in Michigan was good, and the game against Bama from like 2022 was good before he got hurt. But he got hurt 3 straight years. He played through injury last year at Texas. He was an uber prospect, but never really looked like he had great tools as far as his arm strength.
I never understood that.
He did have a rib injury last year, so I don't know if that affected the arm strength. But I never watched him as
different to the oblique injury that was
the
also...
oblique, whatever, yeah, okay. Whatever he had last year.
Well,
but like even in 2000, even in like early in 24, I never saw him as like a whip it around the yard.
No,
cannon
I
for an
don't
arm
understand.
Type of
He's so confusing to me because his sort of claim to fame is that he was the perfect recruit in terms of what's the actual gradation thing of that? It's like, it was like a 100.
They have a 0 to 100 scale.
Yeah, so he was like a perfect 100 score in terms of high school recruit. That's like, why? Like, he's not built like Josh Allen. He doesn't have, Cam Newton physical tools. Like, there's nothing about him where I would look at that and say, I understand why that kid would be the most recruited person in the history of the sport. That makes total sense to me. He was just like a reasonable looking, solid athlete across the board. But like now you're getting to the NFL level. You're like, nothing you bring to the table is high level. Nothing. So, I mean, that's why he went where he did. I just don't understand why he went. I don't get that. I will never understand why he was seen as an elite level recruit.
The injuries are probably one of the biggest questions for Ewers. Very inconsistent deep ball. We'll see how he does in his debut. Fun to watch.
Indeed. Against the Bengals. I mean, at least he's getting that whole thing of, teams do not care who you're getting your start against. Well, at least for Quinn's perspective, he's getting a start against the Bengals.
This should help a little bit.
Yeah.
From Cincinnati's perspective, coming off getting shut out against Baltimore, kind of a weird game for them. But we'll see how they bounce back. Joe Burrow still out there. T. Higgins still in concussion protocol with a second concussion. I don't know if they need to force him back. I'm sure they'll just go by.
Right.
If he's cleared, he's cleared. But I don't know if he needs to play these next few weeks. The other somewhat fun storyline, remember in 2020, Burrow went number 1 overall. The Dolphins were on track to being that pick. They were awful in 2019. They looked just as bad in 2020, and then Fitzmagic came in and got them to the number 5 pick instead of the number 1. It could have been Burrow in Miami instead of Cincinnati.
Let's spend a second on the Tua thing, though. What's the plan now? So obviously you benched him.
We do need to, he's a $99 million dead cap hit. You can do that pre-June 1st where you just eat it for 1 year. You could do it post-June 1st where you spread it over 2 years. It's like 50 and 30 or something like that.
Yeah. Or you can attempt to trade him and the trade probably
you have the same hit though.
But
on a trade,
right? Which is why you attempt to trade him as opposed to cutting him, because
to get something
you're already taking.
Either way, the cap hit's going to be pretty much the same.
But it's going to have to look the trade like the kind of Brock Osweiler trade of like, hey, we'll give you this quarterback and some stuff in order to take on this contract.
Yeah, but like I don't think you're going to trade him. I mean, you're going to cover most of the signing, or you're still paying all the signing bonus anyway. Like it's not going to hurt you anymore or help you anymore to trade him.
Right, except just to get rid of him.
It's tough to really know because we don't know what Mike McDaniel's future is. Remember, Miami's already fired Chris Greer, their GM.
Doesn't it feel like he's safe, though, at this point? If he hasn't been fired already, it kind of feels like the decision is the problems lay elsewhere. Mike McDaniel's still the guy. We're going to back him.
Maybe. Well, let me just say this. The first thing that came to mind, if McDaniel's back, that they try to bring in Mac Jones. That was the first thing that came to mind. Seeing the success that Mac Jones had in Shanahan's system. He's got one more year in San Francisco. Do you try to bring in Mac Jones and say, okay, now we're going to give it a go with Mac in this system? But that was the first thing. But again, I still don't really know if they're fully committed to Mike McDaniel or not. If they are, okay, what are they going to do at quarterback? Well, they're not going to have a top pick. This might only be a one quarterback draft. That's why they're giving Quinn Ewers a shot here. Like, can you put together 3 good games and show that you're potentially the future? Is it a transition year where Ewers goes into next year as the starter, or he's competing with a Mac Jones in a transition year when you figure out what you're going to do in the future? So there's a lot more question marks. And Tua, like, he was pretty bad the other night, and he's had some awful games this year.
Yeah,
he is definitely taken a step back.
I don't see a way back from that. Like, this is done for him.
Tua. I agree.
Like, he's either getting cut. Somehow they're trading him away, but he's no longer the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. And I'm not just saying this year. Like, they are done with Tua now. I don't see how you can come back from that when he's basically declared you as the problem.
The one thing I'm having a tough time separating is all of the questions for me when it comes to Tua and Mike McDaniel are all of the confounding variables.
Yeah.
Which was Tua he had below average first 2 seasons, 20 and 21. In 22, he looked outstanding for a big chunk, but they couldn't beat good teams. It coincided with Mike McDaniel and Tyreek Hill coming in. In 23, Tyreek Hill was on pace to break the receiving record. It was great. And then in 24, that kind of tapered off, and then this year he gets hurt. So with Tyreek Hill, Tua in this offense cooks, but we've never seen Tua have success without either Mike McDaniel or without Tyreek Hill. Never seen it over an extended period of time. And even when he had those guys, you still had, well, he can't beat good teams and he can't win in cold weather and you don't trust him throwing outside the numbers and like all of his limitations show up. So that's a tough sell. That is a tough sell for, say, as I saw somebody say, what if Arizona he goes to Arizona, fresh start with Kyler Murray goes to Miami.
Yeah.
Fresh start for both. And it's like, I don't have enough non-Tyreek Hill data points for Tua to feel confident in him.
Yeah, I can't really see another NFL team wanting to start him. And this is why I think if any trade happens, it's going to have to look like a Brock Osweiler trade where it's like, we will give you a pick to take this contract the hell off the books.
Yeah.
And that is going to land him on a team where
I don't think anyone's doing that.
Maybe I can see a team maybe taking it on for the draft pick, and if they don't have a great backup situation, like a team just willing to carry him as a backup quarterback in order to get a second-round draft pick or whatever, like a team in full rebuild without a good quarterback situation and somewhere where he could have value as a backup. Maybe. Anyway, the point I was driving towards is that now puts Miami in a similar spot to Minnesota, where all of a sudden you're in the market for like a starting quarterback without an obvious way of getting one. Like the quarterbacks we pulled out as names, the Mac Jones of the world, they're under contract, so you got to trade for them. Or you're in that if Kyler Murray gets cut world. I mean, these are guys that are getting cut from teams without a good quarterback situation, so that's probably not a great spot, right? Now you're relying on the power of Mike McDaniel or Kevin O'Connell to just work magic on a quarterback that's already crapped out somewhere. This is not a good spot to be in.
No, it's not.
And then the other situation for Miami is I don't think, even if, let's say, Mike McDaniel is safe for the moment, I don't think he's safe in terms of if they can't just say next year's going to tank. Next year's going to suck. We're going to bring in some awful quarterback or just hand the keys to Quinn Ewers for the year. We're going to win 2 games. And they can't do what Cleveland did this year.
Yeah, no,
Mike McDaniel won't survive that.
No, he won't.
So that can't be the plan. So the plan has got to be, where do we get a half-decent, high-level starting quarterback from? And there aren't that many of them.
Yeah, it is a tough situation for Miami. They're at least seeing what else they have. I don't know what the future holds for Tua, because I've also seen it be like, well, he's not the same since the injuries and this and that. It's just it has directly coincided with having Tyreek Hill plus Jalen Waddle, having the 2 of those guys on the field.
The injuries, and more importantly, more specifically, the concussions is a huge element to whatever happens to him going forward.
Absolutely.
If you're a team thinking about bringing him in, if he's available in the open market, whatever, Tua has dealt with a scary amount and severity of concussions and may only ever be one hit away from that again. In addition to, he's also had a pretty significant hip injury. He's had other major injuries as well. This is somebody who not only may be limited just in terms of him as a quarterback generally, but he's also got a pretty troubling injury history in multiple different ways.
And by the way, half the teams have to be off the board. He's not going to go to Pittsburgh. You can't bring him to Pittsburgh.
Because it's cold?
Yeah, not just honestly, you can't. I don't think he has the arm.
He's never won a game under 40 degrees.
Forget that. But to be a cold weather quarterback, he's off the board for Pittsburgh or Cleveland.
He's only demonstrated the ability to succeed in one very specific offense where teams eventually took that away. Forget.
With Tyreek Hill.
Right. Forget the cold, forget the, all the other things. We don't even know what the hell the offense can look like for him.
So, anyway, that's an off-season storyline to just to keep an eye on here. One more thing. PSA time. Open your ears for this one. Tua Tagovailoa was benched this week.
Yes.
He is the number 17 all-time quarterback in passer rating. He ranks 17th in passer rating all time, 0.1 behind first ballot Hall of Famer Peyton Manning.
12-second Hall of Famer. That's how long they spent debating his case.
12 seconds for Peyton Manning. Not first ballot, 12-second debate. So Peyton Manning is 16th overall in passer rating at 96.5. Tua, 96.4. 17th all time in passer rating. If you want to just cancel passer rating as a stat, since it's all current players in the new NFL.
That's right up there with when Peter Schrager was trying to make Phillip Rivers Hall of Fame case based off the fact that he had better yards than Dan Fouts.
Just saying. How do you bench the guy that's number 17 all time in passer? Maybe that's why Phillip Rivers is at 19th. Maybe he's trying to jack that number up for himself.
Maybe. Him being ranked basically the same as Peyton Manning is pretty hilarious. The other one,
Rivers being in bold now on Pro Football Reference, meaning that he's active.
The other one that was hilarious to me is, for years, that was Steve Young at the top of this. He had by far the highest passer rating of anyone from his sort of quote-unquote generation.
He's down to 15.
Yeah, and he was by far and away, and now he's the 15th highest because everybody that's played since him has basically jumped higher than that. That's kind of crazy. Just he was the Dan Marino of passer rating, Marino was the guy with all the yards and the touchdowns, and now he's down there with, barely the top 10 figure. And Steve Young was the guy with passer rating, and now all of them are just getting surpassed by everybody that's played in the last 20 years.
So this one's worth watching to see how Quinn Ewers does in his debut. Cincinnati favored by 4.5. Where are you going to go with this one?
Cincinnati.
Same. I'll take the Bengals as
Joe Burrow versus Quinn Ewers.
Wow. All right.
If Quinn Ewers plays anything other than hot garbage in this game, I'll be surprised.
Come on, dude. You know how quarterback play. It's tough to predict quarterbacks.
It is. It's tough to predict, and yet he's been fairly consistently terrible.
New York Jets at the New Orleans Saints. Saints favored by 4.5 here. We're in it's a tankathon game. 3-11 Jets, 4-10 Saints. Jets currently picking 5th. Saints currently picking 7th. Tyler Shuck, stacking some good weeks here for the Saints.
Who cares about Tyler Shuck? It's Charlie Smith week.
Going up against Brady Cook.
He's now officially signed to the active roster, which I thought had happened a week ago, but apparently hadn't. They'd cut the other kicker.
Yeah, I feel like we're having the same conversation we had.
They'd cut the other kicker a week ago, which I assumed corresponded with signing him to the active roster, but apparently they had one more sort of freebie in terms of activating him from the practice squad.
Now we're good?
Now he's officially signed to the active roster.
Kick one game winner. You're a full-time player.
You're a full-time player.
Happy for Charlie.
Yeah.
Anything else in this game that we're
now
watching?
I just want to see, I mean, it's great that he's playing. We're in a dome. Now I just want to see, I want 60-plus. Give him the shot from the moon and see. I want Charlie's not only – like, look, kicking game winners in the NFL, it's great. It's a great story. But it's not as good a story as having the all-time longest kick on your resume.
That is true.
That's the next step here. You go, 1, make the team. 2, kick a game-winning field goal. 3, NFL record all-time.
Yeah, actually, teams should be going for that. Just do that. You got 3 weeks, nothing on the line.
We got nothing to play for. Let's get people some random records.
Try to set some records here. You don't know if they're going to change the kicking balls back.
Project JJ. Where's Project Charlie?
They could reconsider the
any
kicking
week
ball.
They could switch the game balls back and
they
decide
could
it's
go
a
back
mistake.
next year and say we're not doing this anymore.
You might have a limited window of time to get a 75-yard field goal in there.
Kick your 70-yarders now. So we'll be keeping an eye on Charlie Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Brady Cook's getting another start here for the Jets, so battle of a couple rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah. And look, Tyler Shuck has actually been pretty impressive the last few weeks, and they're going to have – I mean, I assume you're going to give him another year, but given they might be – it might be an interesting decision.
I think they are because you're not going to have this – it's not like there's 5 quarterbacks going in the top 10 this year. And so I don't think you're debating a ton if you're the Saints. You already took Shuck at pick 40. He's playing well. He's the guy going forward. It's just a matter of, like J.J. McCarthy with the Vikings, can you build some momentum heading into the offseason? And so far they have.
Yeah.
They've done a nice job. Defense has been much better in recent weeks for New Orleans. I think they're for a 4-10 team that early in the season looked like one of the worst teams in the league and was playing like that. They're starting to trend better, and have some building blocks in a rebuild here.
Yeah, and then they're going up against a Jets team that doesn't have an awful lot to smile about in any capacity.
Defensive coordinator Steve Wilks was fired this week after last week's performance.
Yeah, I mean, all right. It's hard to be like, it's taken us 15 weeks, but we've decided Steve Wilks is the problem. I honestly think with that ownership, remember the only one that got an F in the NFLPA's survey. I mean, that feels like every few weeks he's just like, this remains unacceptable. I'm going to need a new sacrificial lamb. Who is it now? Go away and give me a name. I need a name on my desk at 4 p.m. today. And it's like, all right, I've racked my brain. I've decided Steve Wilks is the guy. Sorry, Steve. That feels like the way this works.
Ouch.
Like every few weeks of misery, somebody's head's got to roll. I don't care who it is. Just give me – accountability is a thing. And I demand accountability, and that means heads must roll, and that means firings. So give me a name on my desk by 4 p.m., and that guy's gone. That shows we're working to fix this. Like, all right, does it?
That's what happens.
Is that making things better?
I had nothing else in this game. Jets have they're 3-11. Don't forget the huge matchup next week. Giants Raiders. 2 of the 2 win teams. One of those teams will have 3 wins by the end of next week unless they tie.
Yep.
So the Jets have a chance to jump back up potentially in draft position.
So the Jets and the Browns, and I guess the Cardinals, are 3 teams that I think are really interested in this run-in because the 3 teams ahead of them, you've got the Giants, who don't need a quarterback, presumably. You've got the Titans, who don't need a quarterback. And you've got the Raiders, who do need a quarterback, but might take the approach of everything else is so bad that if we try and fix that first, then maybe Geno will look good again, right? I might not take a quarterback, might be willing to trade out and take the haul. Meanwhile, you've got the Browns and the Jets, specifically, and then Cardinals less so. But the Browns and the Jets, who do need a quarterback and have ammunition to go get one. And if this is a 1 quarterback strong draft, like it's just this fascinating situation right now where the 3 teams in pole position might be willing to trade, and then the 2 teams waiting for that to happen are sitting right behind, armed to the teeth with future first-round draft picks.
And the Jets could easily punt till next year. But
sure.
if the right guy's there or they have the opportunity to get Mendoza, they could use that capital to get him there. So,
but like it's an unusual situation where the teams ahead of the teams that need quarterbacks might all be willing to move off those picks.
Yes.
Usually that's not the case. Like if you need a quarterback, there's almost always a team ahead of you that does need a quarterback too, and you're just stuck because they're not going to trade out of it. Like the Giants trying to get Drake May, right? Great as that is, you could throw everything you want at them, and the Patriots are just like, no, we're not moving. There's nothing you can do about that. I feel like the 3 teams currently sitting there with 2 wins would all move off for the right trade offer.
All right, man, let's see. Saints by 4.5. Where are you going to go?
Yeah, the Fighting Charlie Smiths will win and cover.
For Charlie.
For Charlie.
I'll take the Saints, as will Harry.
For County Down.
Trending in the right direction.
Mayo Bridge.
Buffalo Bills at the Cleveland Browns. Bills favored by 10.5 here.
By the way, we had an important update that he didn't text me back, but he did at least acknowledge my existence by reacting to one of my text messages. So we're inching towards a potential interview.
Breaks the record. Can we at least get him on the show?
It's just we are incrementally moving towards a Charlie Smith interview. I assumed it would be a much easier thing than it's turning out to be. Right? I assumed we could just text him and be like, "Hey,
Charlie,
you want to come on the show?"
Interview.
Right. It's proving to be more difficult than that, but we are at least slowly inching towards some form of Charlie Smith interview. I've confirmed previously that it was the correct number, and now I have actual tacit acknowledgement that my texts are getting through and that he reacted to one of them. Now, I then sent a follow-up text, and that was ignored. But, wow. Baby steps.
The guy's busy.
Baby steps. Eventually, we will get to a Charlie Smith interview. And hopefully, he's still on a roster by that point. Otherwise, that'll be kind of underwhelming.
He's going to break the record this week.
Right.
Buffalo Bills at the Cleveland Browns, 10-4 Bills, and the 3-11 Browns. Bills favored by 10.5. Over under just 41.5. Josh Allen, Shedeur Sanders, Myles Garrett, sack watch. Lots of watch in this game.
Just a couple of potential Pro Bowlers.
All pros?
No, Pro Bowlers.
Hall of Famers.
Did you see that thing? Shedeur Sanders is like top 10 in the fan vote.
Of course he is.
Because
the fan vote's only like a percentage of the whole thing, right?
Correct, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It would be hilarious, though, if Shedeur made a Pro Bowl.
Myles Garrett needs 1.5 sacks to break the record. Is that right?
Yes, I believe so.
So keep an eye on that. Allen.
Does 1.5 break it or tie it? I think he might need 2 to break it. So 2 full sacks, I think. I'm not.
He needs to get to
sure.
22.5?
Yes. No, 22.5 is the record. He needs to get to 23.
Okay, gotcha. Go.
Go?
He's at 21.5, so 1 to tie. It's 1.5 to break.
Okay, cool. There's a shot in this game. Like, Deion Dawkins is playing. He's a good left tackle. That's not the easiest assignment in the world. I think Spencer Brown was back last week as well, right?
He's got 2 weeks to break it for me.
Yeah, obviously, because you don't count the third game. But both of Buffalo's tackles are back, right? Like, I think they got them both back last week. So It's not the easiest assignment in the world to go and beat those guys for your sacks. But he's Myles Garrett, so he's capable of beating anybody.
So that's something to watch. Buffalo, for how many times have we've been like fixing Buffalo and what's wrong with the Bills and everything? They're sitting here at 10-4, and favored by over 10 points here to get to 11-4.
Yeah,
they're still in really good shape. Like, when we were going back saying, what's wrong with the Bills? What's wrong with their offense? Can they do this? Can they throw the ball down the field? All these different questions. All I said was stop turning the ball over. Stop having cluster turnovers. Cancel the cluster turnovers. That's what they did against Miami. It was like, they're moving the ball, fumble. They're moving the ball, end zone interception. Like, as long as the Bills are not handing the ball to the defense, they might be the best team in the NFL when they're not handing the ball to the defense.
Just cancel the cluster turnovers.
That's it. That's the strategy in Buffalo.
Smart.
So as long as they aren't cluster turning it over, they're great. They're still very good.
Ridiculous term.
I like made it up on the spot.
Yeah.
Thank you, IM8, for the clarity in my brain to make up new terms.
Would you like to know what Buffalo's point differential is in the first half of games this year?
Is it negative?
It is significantly negative.
What is it?
It is minus 29.
Wow.
Which ranks 23rd in the NFL. Like, they have a worse point differential in the first half than the Browns do.
And then they just turn it on in the second half.
Correct. Then they just start cooking. Having only noticed this last week, that they're like the worst team in the NFL against the spread in the first half, I'm now curious, does that continue against a Browns team who you're much better than?
Every year that those numbers come up, and I don't think any of them mean anything, because everything about football from a games perspective is a small sample size. Like no other sport has as few games as football. Like if you took any other sport and took a 17 or 16 game trend, in this case a 14 game trend, in any sport, it would mean absolutely nothing because you either play 162 games in baseball or 82 in basketball and hockey or whatever, and it wouldn't mean anything as far as like trends like that.
Well,
so I don't know if it means it because then you try to figure, are they bad at scripting?
Right.
Are they only good at halftime adjustments? Like you try to create this story as to why it is, and I don't know if there's a good explanation for it.
Well, those are different things, right? Like I don't know if it means anything in terms of predictive power and what this team like permanence, but I think it might be descriptive and indicative of something. It's whether or not you can act on that is another matter, but I think it might mean something without it being like a permanent problem that they have to deal with. But they're also, by the way, by far the best team in the NFL in point differential in the second half.
Right.
So offsetting this, they're pretty bad in the first half. They do not get going. They dig themselves holes repeatedly, like against the Patriots. And going into halftime, they're in trouble in a lot of these games. And then the second half, they are plus 116 in point differential, which is 40 points better than the Rams, who are in second place. Like they have a 40-point margin over the rest of the NFL in terms of the best point differential in the second half of games. They are by far the most second half team in football.
And if you asked me to describe it without even acknowledging how those games played out or anything, I would probably say they probably come out trying to like spread the ball around and get the ball to James Cook and everything. And then if that doesn't work in the first half, it's like, all right, Superman.
Josh Allen now.
It's Josh Allen time. And I know there are certain games where maybe that's true, but that's not necessarily the case. But that's why I have faith in the Bills generally, is they can rely on Josh Allen through the air, running the ball when needed. They can run the ball with James Cook. When Dalton Kincaid is healthy, that dude looks like a top 3 tight end. And they've been able to spread the ball around. And even if they don't have a typical deep threat, I have faith in their pass game with Allen leading it. And they have made, I would say, nice defensive adjustments, like in a game like New England last week or against Cincinnati a couple weeks ago. They have done a nice job with that because the defense has not been great overall. But second half against the Chiefs, second half against the Bengals, second half against the Patriots, they've done a really nice job making adjustments there. So that's the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
So keep an eye on Myles Garrett. Buffalo, where's their schedule? Really quick. They're sitting at the 6th seed, 10-4. I think they still technically have an outside. I mean, they still have an outside chance at the AFC East. I think it's tough with New England playing Miami and the Jets still. But they've got the Eagles next week, the 4:25 window, then the Jets. So 2 games against 3-win teams.
They're fighting for the same thing everyone is fighting for in the AFC, which is to be the 5 seed.
Yes.
Because you get to play Pittsburgh, presumably.
Right. Anyway, pick time. Bills by 10.5 in Cleveland. Let's see how Shedeur does. We keep saying Cleveland doesn't have a quarterback. We'll see if Shedeur finishes strong here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still going with the Bills.
Yeah, I'll take Buffalo, even on the road.
I can't imagine a world where I don't, again, like the McCarthy thing, I'm not sure Shedeur can win himself a starting job based off this run. I think the best he can do is win a backup job.
All right, 3 more games. But first, quick break to talk about our friends over at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes that good drivers deserve better rates, so they created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy-to-use app. Traditional car insurance companies focus on demographics like age, zip code, occupation, and credit score to price your coverage. When Root offers a rate, your behavior behind the wheel gets more weight than any other single factor. They don't use occupation or education level to negatively affect your rate. So while you drive, Root gathers and analyzes data from your smartphone sensors. And after a few weeks, you'll get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving. Save up to 44% off your initial Root quote after you take the test drive. If you need a tow truck, jump start, lock your keys in the car, Root will cover the help that you need to get back on the road when you opt into roadside assistance. The Root app makes it easy to edit your coverage, update your policy, or file a claim in just 3 minutes. You can get started today at root.com. We probably were going to provide roadside assistance for the Chiefs yesterday before the show was canceled.
Yeah.
Maybe we're kind of doing that today. Kansas City Chiefs at the Tennessee Titans. Chiefs favored by 3. They are out of the playoff picture. It's Gardner Minshew getting the start with Patrick Mahomes having ACL surgery on Monday. Over under 37.5 here. Chiefs at the Titans.
The Titans are so bad that even Gardner Minshew is favored by 3 points on the road.
Rashee Rice is in concussion protocol, so
not surprised given the hits he's been taking the last couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Just to touch on the Mahomes thing really quick.
Was that another one that did that surface after the game? That wasn't the.
I think so. He played the rest of the game. Yeah. Just to touch on the Mahomes injury, so he did have surgery on Monday. It was an ACL and an LCL.
Yep.
Dr. David Chow, who we've referenced a lot here, I think he's got despite what some people think of him, he's got a pretty.
We can segment. We can compartmentalize these things.
He's got a pretty good handle on injuries.
He's very good at diagnosing injuries from tape.
Yes.
I think the best out there at doing that. He
has,
also, however, got some questionable elements to his past.
Yeah.
These are things that can coexist.
So Dr. Chow was saying when you have an LCL injury, you need to get that surgery as quickly as possible. If you have just an ACL, for instance, Micah Parsons, just an ACL, you don't have to rush the surgery, but the LCL is the reason why you have the surgery the day after.
Why?
It's just the way the why doesn't matter.
It does matter. These are the things. I hate you bring me these things, and I'm like, now all I'm interested in, and I don't even care what the answer is. I just want to know why that's the case, right? Like Harrison sent me this thing recently, right, where it had.
You could do your own research on that.
There was a discrepancy in the dates, right, a year-to-year thing, but there was like a 2-week gap, and I'm like. Now all I want to know is why there's a 2-week gap in this thing. I don't even care what the answer is. It's just my brain needs to know why this is a thing because I've spotted it as a problem. You're all here like, oh, according to Dr. David Chow, if you have an LCL injury as well, you've got to get the surgery right now. I'm like, why?
All right,
and you've got no idea. You got nothing.
Well, let me get some more information for you here.
You get a text David Chow? I need to know why. So anyway, all right. So he's got his surgery, but it's not expected to complicate the timeline, correct? Like either way, we're sort of assuming 9 months start of the season.
Chow says there's no way he's 100% to start the 2026 season.
As in 100% certain or 100% healthy?
Healthy.
Okay.
Now, he's certainly not saying he won't be playing, but he's talking about 100% as far as movement skills and everything. Repair of LCL done early as easier for anatomic repair before early scar tissue. Reconstruction of ACL with graft is better to let swelling go down. In this case, likely both done early to avoid second surgery. So the LCL you have to get done early because it's easier for anatomic repair before the early scar tissue. Okay. That's why you do it.
Got it. Why is
that's just to clarify because
now my question is why is that not the case for the ACL?
Because the ACL is different. Well, now you could just look that up yourself. I just saw so many people be like, man, Mahomes really wants it. He got a surgery the day after. It's like, well.
He just wants it.
Like he wants it, whereas like Micah Parsons is slacking because he doesn't have surgery yet.
The player determines when they get the surgery.
Can't wait to get back, had his surgery the next day. It's like,
dude, if you had that take, you are a certified moron.
Search some Chiefs.
I've not looked for who has that take and who hasn't. And I apologize if I am throwing you into this bucket. But if that was your take, you are an idiot, like a straight up moron. Like that's just a basic lack of critical thinking skills that's on display there.
This guy's more determined than ever.
That's like staggering stupidity.
Never seen anyone get surgery the day after.
Unbelievable.
So that's what's going on. ACL and LCL. It is the Chiefs doctor came out yesterday, and this is a great one. 9 months recovery. But it could be 1 to 2 weeks later, could be 1 to 2 weeks earlier.
Sure.
That puts you right up against, middle of training camp and the season. I would expect, and we've seen Mahomes, like the fact that he played on that high ankle a couple years ago, which was like a 2 to 4 week injury. Right.
My expectation is we do not see him do basically a single thing until week 1 and he plays opening night.
Oh, yeah. If he's.
No training camp. He's not going to play in preseason.
Like week 3 of the preseason is now 2 weeks before the regular season. And that's a significant chunk of recovery.
So he might start practicing in that window. And then that's it. So the first time we will see him, unless you're a Chiefs beat writer, will be opening night.
And then the question is going to be, okay, if he's got any kind of limited mobility, the big question is going to be, are there any kind of limited mobility for a guy that moves around as much as he does? Right. And then secondly, even if there isn't.
And what do they change?
Even if there isn't, does he change, right? Because
and the offense. I mean, what do they change off the back of this season?
Aaron Rodgers, who moves around a lot and is very mobile, had points in his career where he was battling injury and he just had to win from the pocket.
Right.
And again, this isn't to say like Patrick Mahomes can't win from the pocket. He's at his best when he's in and out, right? But
more to the point,
if he has to play just from the pocket a majority of the time, how do they change the offense?
But also,
how do they change that game?
He's used his athleticism and his scrambling ability as a crutch, and the more difficult the situation, and the more he thinks that they are in trouble, the more he's leaned on that, right? So, like this season, from very early on, he was scrambling more than he scrambled in the past because that's how he believes he has to carry this team. So, like, that's the big thing. Like, if he's got to stop doing that, well, then the Chiefs are actually in worse shape than they think they're in, because you take all that stuff off the table. Now you need to pick up that slack from elsewhere. So, yeah, really interesting offseason for them.
And there's a lot of Chiefs fans who are saying, blaming the receivers, blaming Andy Reid, calling for Andy Reid. There's a lot of takes out there saying we could find some good ones. Andy Reid's lost it. Offense sucks. They miss Eric Bieniemy. It's Matt Nagy's fault. There's a lot of blame being thrown around. I don't think we're going to learn anything about that blame no matter what Kansas City does the next 3 weeks. Like if Gardner Minshew goes and tears up Tennessee and like the Raiders in Week 18, I don't think it's answering any questions. But we'll see how Kansas City does down the stretch here.
I saw a great. Let me find this tweet for you. I don't think I sent this one to you, but I might have. Bear with me.
And then I'm going to be watching Cam Ward against Spags.
Yes.
Spags in this defense coming after.
Similar conversation to the Floridas versus young quarterback thing. This one came from somebody, good name, Platinum Sombrero IQ 80 or IQ 73. Matt Nagy's career gets Alex Smith to play like Alex Smith. Gets Mitch Trubisky to temporarily play like Alex Smith. Gets Mahomes to also play like Alex Smith. Minshew? Question mark. I can only guess.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, it is.
That is good.
So that's our watch, is will Minshew now begin to play like Alex Smith for the last few weeks of this offensive output for the Chiefs?
And Minshew's, I think he's a good backup. I think Minshew's on that fringe of the next type of quarterback that should get a shot, as a top 32 type of quarterback in the world, right? So we'll see.
Yeah, it wouldn't
Minshew
have been.
down the stretch here.
Obviously it didn't work, but it wouldn't have blown my mind if Minshew had somehow executed the game-winning drive at the end of that game against the Chargers and kept Kansas City theoretically alive for another week.
It's by the way, because Kansas City, because Mahomes, like their offseason is going to be fascinating for multiple reasons now, but because there's a chance they're without him. Like, there's still a chance that they're without him for a few weeks. I'm anticipating they'll have him for week 1, but they could also make the call, 17-game schedule. We might have 3 weeks without Mahomes, whatever it is. This might be a 3-week, trial period for Minshew to be the bridge starter next year.
Yeah.
Right? So this could be a tryout for Minshew here.
They'd be comfortable with that already, right?
Probably. But, like, if he's terrible, they're probably not feeling great about it.
But I think he's got enough. There's enough of a resume, I think, for Minshew already to be like, if we have to play him for the first 3 weeks or whatever, we're okay with that.
And Minshew's also like on that fringe of like what Justin Fields just got as a bridge starter, because there's only one quarterback, maybe 2 quarterbacks that people really want in the draft. Are there more fringe starter, bridge starter jobs available this offseason? Does Minshew try to play him, potentially play himself into that if he has 3 good weeks here? Just stuff to keep an eye on. And then Tennessee watching Cam Ward against KC should be fun.
Yeah.
Chiefs by 3, over under 37.5 in Tennessee here. The Titans, by the way, Kevin Winston's been put on IR. It's like the one guy on defense besides Jeffrey Simmons I've been really excited to watch every week for Tennessee, so I'm sad. They're missing Winston, their third rounder. They're missing Oladejo, Femi Oladejo, their second rounder has been missing for a while. So they don't Tennessee doesn't get the benefit of seeing some of their rookies play down the stretch here while they're trying to figure out the rebuild.
Yeah,
which is too bad.
Yeah, it is. I mean, again, the only thing I'm really focusing on for them is what we see from Cam Ward on a weekly basis. Plus, a couple of young players on offense they've got that he's starting to find a connection with, like just those green shoots that have been there.
And we need to really keep in mind this offseason when we talk about Cam Ward, the stretch of defenses that they have played. And I know Kansas City's defense maybe not as good as they've been the past 2 years.
Very good.
It's still Spags.
Yeah.
It's still they still make life difficult in opposing quarterbacks. Cam Ward has had a run of difficult defenses that he's gone up.
I mean, he's played
this
better football against the harder defenses than like the green shoots and the incremental improvement, slow as they may have been, have come against much harder defenses, which is sort of doubly impressive that it's happened.
And you don't see that often for a team that playing a last place schedule,
right,
going through that gauntlet. So it's been impressive, or at least difficult to see, to watch what Cam Ward's had to go up against. Kansas City by 3. Where are you going to
go? Kansas City.
Yeah, same. I still think they're going to be fine against Tennessee.
And Money Minshew.
Harry will take Kansas City, and if I missed it earlier, Harry took Buffalo in the last game as well. I think we've all agreed on all of the last few games. Good luck with you.
Oh, that's not good.
Good luck for you, Sam. All right, 2 more games. Atlanta Falcons at the Arizona Cardinals.
I didn't feel good about this week. The picks were thrown in, they were scattershot. I didn't have my
full. Got the same picks as me.
I didn't have my full attention to it, and it turns out that now I'm picking the same as you. That can't possibly be good.
And when I'm saying 2 more games, I'm still excited about all the football. Atlanta by 2.5 here over the Arizona Cardinals. Sunday at 4:05, over under 47.5. 3-11 Cardinals and the 5-9 Falcons.
Yeah.
Falcons coming off their big Thursday night win against Tampa.
Just a couple of disappointing teams, a couple of confusing teams. There's a lot of similarities in these two teams.
Yeah, that's about it.
That's about it. Next, Atlanta were kind of impressive in that game in the comeback. The big thing was that we're in this is a contract year for Kyle Pitts, right?
Mm-hmm.
See what kind of money he can make himself with this run of crazy play, and it looks like he's finally put it together. And by the way, he's still like the same age as Kelsey was when Kelsey caught his first NFL pass.
I think he's getting paid.
Yeah,
Kyle
huge.
Pitts has looked very good this year. Looked great last Thursday night. He's getting paid.
And the reasons that he went 4 overall are still all there. Like, he's still huge, fast, with a crazy amount of ball skills on off-target throws, et cetera. Like, his skill set is still there for him to be an absolutely unstoppable, uncoverable Weapon X in an offense.
Tight end's interesting because I think the best athletes do the best at tight end overall, but it's more of a feel position than, say, receiver.
Right.
And I think that's why it takes a little bit longer for some of those. Like Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah.
What's different about Kincaid this year? It just looks different.
And particularly,
it looks different for Pitts this year.
He's a great example. Now it's getting screwed up by people like Brock Bowers and Sam Laporta that have just come in and hit the ground running. But that's why, one of the things that was most impressive about Kincaid as a prospect was all the feel stuff. And yet even he is still taking a couple of years to get to that level where he's looking like one of the best tight ends in the NFL. That's how hard it is to do that stuff. Is translating to the NFL is a nightmare, even if you are exceptionally good at the feel stuff from a college point of view.
So that's something worth watching. Kirk Cousins, of course, still going for it's Kirk Cousins versus Jacoby Brissett in this one. Watch Michael Wilson as he's developing. I don't have much else. There's a couple games that last 2 games. There's not much to watch for in this. We don't have to spend much more time. But Tankathon update. Arizona is where are they? 6th.
Yep.
Picking 6th.
Meanwhile,
3-11.
Atlanta is shipping the number 10 pick to the Rams.
Atlanta technically is number 10. So if you're a Rams fan, rooting hard here for your division rival Cardinals to get the win to move your pick up. Right now, Atlanta has the 10 pick going to Arizona.
Yep.
I'm sorry, going to the Rams.
The Rams.
By the way, the Chiefs are picking at 12 as of right
Yeah.
now. It's jarring seeing that. And they play Tennessee and the Raiders 2 out of the last 3 weeks. They could screw over their draft pick against lesser teams here.
True.
See how that works out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Again, a huge offseason for them. And for the first time in a long time, they're going to have that pretty high pick to work with.
Yeah. Plenty to talk about this offseason. Atlanta at Arizona. Atlanta by 2.5. Where are you going to go?
I'm going to go with the Falcons. Stupidly, because there's no way they back up an impressive performance.
The Cousins versus Tampa Bay and versus non-Tampa Bay splits are pretty awful.
Yeah, of course.
For Atlanta.
They're nuts.
I can't believe people sometimes, but I have stupid takes too. But I at least saw somebody who was like, did Kirk Cousins just earn him? Kirk Cousins is the starter in Pittsburgh next year. Off of the Tampa Bay game. When it's yeah, he's had 3 good games the last 2 years, and they're all against Tampa.
Yeah.
We don't need to overreact to it.
Oh, no, people, you
still
can't.
take it.
Everyone, look, we're an hour or so removed from a Pittsburgh beat reporter being like Aaron Rodgers is a Pro Bowler based off one good game. People have the memory of a goldfish. It's unbelievable, the lack of any form of long-form thinking that people have when it comes to football. I ask you every week, people post something stupid in the middle of the second quarter of a game that's one-sided, and you're like, have you never seen a football game before? You don't need to go back longer than last week to find the last time this would have been dumb.
Has anyone ever blown a 21-0 lead? No, never.
Right.
It's not like
It's not like, you have to be like, hey, I know you guys are too young for this, but like us boomers remember back in 1990. No, it's like last week is literally the memory you need.
Teams blow big
to
leads.
Know that this is a stupid thing to be tweeting.
I'll take Atlanta. Harry's taking Arizona. I'm sick of taking Arizona. I've been taking them every week. Arizona, they're feisty and tough. Nope, done.
Yeah, but the alternative is taking the Falcons to back up a game that's equally as ridiculous.
I know. Let's wrap it up. Las Vegas Raiders at the Houston Texans. Texans favored by 14.5.
The biggest line of the week. 2 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns in a game that has an over-under of 37.5.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's rough.
I mean, this Vegas thinks that this game is going to be like, 21-7 or something to the Texans.
Texans are getting beat up on the defensive line with some injuries.
Again.
Yeah. Max Crosby not participating in practice. The one nice thing about the Raiders.
The one nice thing. What are you talking about? There's comeback player of the year, Devin White, who's got a lot of tackles.
I am just glad, because I know what you're referring to.
Yeah?
I am glad that there were enough ball knowers out there to call out
anyone that's watched a game.
Ian Rappaport. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is just an embarrassing. I got to be careful. I work with agents, right? I don't want to piss.
Well, they're not to blame.
They are to blame.
They are exploiting the system, but you can't blame them for. Here's a gimme. I'm going to take it.
Do you have the tweet?
No, not handy.
Ian Rappaport, essentially unprompted, like nothing prompted.
Oh yeah, just straight out of the blue. Here we go. I got it. Ian Rappaport. It's been a challenging season in Las Vegas, but the hashtag Raiders have some success stories. Linebacker Devin White is a big one. He has emerged as a potential comeback player of the year candidate. By the way, nowhere on the odds list for comeback player of the year. So that part isn't even true. In DC Patrick Graham's scheme, as the 5th player in team history to eclipse 140 tackles. With 1 sack, Devin White would join Demario Davis as one of 2 players since 2019 to get 700-plus tackles and 25 sacks. End of transmission.
So I'm just going to – I know our listeners and viewers are very sharp here. So you know this. Do you think Ian Rappaport has this big database of information where he's looking for these trends and like, you know what? I've been watching a lot of Raiders football. I noticed Devin White has a lot of tackles. I wonder who recently has 700 tackles and whatever these.
No, I don't. In fact, I believe.
Who do you think would be digging up this information?
I believe that somewhere in the employment arm of CAA Football, Creative Artist Agency, there are people that do this kind of thing, right? Let's find the most beneficial. Let's find the most the stuff, the data points that reflect most well on our players, and let's get that out into the world, right? Because that's what we do. We represent our players. They're the agency, by the way, that Devin White is rep by. So we're going to go out there and we're going to put out some positive, let's call it what it is, positive Devin White propaganda. And apparently what they've done is, the best way of doing that is let's send a text to Ian Rappaport, who will immediately just copy and paste the text and post it out there as news.
The news is, don't sleep on Devin White, comeback player. Look at how many tackles he has. Meanwhile, last week, Max Crosby was chewing him out at the end of the game, screaming at him because he's not getting over the top on a run play.
Right, because he goofs a simple play that happens every time he plays football.
And,
Devin White.
They didn't feed the 42 PFF grade because that's certainly not.
Well, that's not going to make him look good.
No. So,
and by the way, that specific data point that they pulled out, he's got a lot of tackles and sacks. The only reason he has a lot of sacks is because they send him on the blitz all the damn time because he's garbage in coverage. Like, that is a data point that exists because they've been trying to hide him as much as humanly possible. They have identified, his own team has identified a glaring weakness in his game and tried to take it away by saying, you know what? Maybe instead of asking you to just do things in coverage, we're going to take you out of coverage entirely because you can't even do it. So the data point that they're using is not even your good one.
I know we don't want to spend the whole preview time on Devin White, but again, a PSA that the insiders, like, that's not inside knowledge whatsoever from Ian.
This is a failing of the current world. Whether you want to put it at the door of the agents who are sending these texts, or whether you want to say, have a little bit of shame and a little bit of integrity in your own existence, and understand that your job as an NFL insider, as a theoretical journalist, is not to take whatever somebody is. You are now a propaganda mouthpiece. That's not journalism. That's propaganda. It's a different thing. That's why it's got a different name. He is literally, and he's not the only one. I don't want to single out Rappaport as the only guy that's doing this. They're all doing this to varying degrees. Some of them are definitely more cringy than others. But this entire industry has abdicated journalistic integrity in favor of, well, I might be the first person to tweet out this news if I say something nice for the agents. And that is just a lack of basic integrity in your own job.
That's just where we are in the world today. Houston's pass rush against the Raiders, who should have Geno Smith back. It's going to be a tough one. Texans' best defense in the league. Raiders rough on both sides of the ball. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason it's a 14.5-point spread, and I feel like that's fair.
It's a golden opportunity for Houston. Obviously, Jags have already played the Raiders. They got the win. They went to overtime with the Raiders.
Yeah.
That was the last time the Raiders had a lead in the second half, by the way, November 2nd. Houston has a chance with the Jags going to Denver to be tied atop the AFC South by the end of the day if the Jags lose in Denver and they win this game.
The only thing that can happen in this game, there can be no positive in this game from Houston's perspective. The only thing that could happen is bad. If they don't go out there and murder the Raiders, that's a potential red flag. If they go out there and they win, it doesn't even matter by what they win by. Like last week, the Eagles stomped them by, 31-0 or whatever? It's like, I don't even know if that means anything. The Texans can do nothing in this game that makes them look any better than they are right now. All they can do is not live up to expectations.
14.5 with a 37.5 over-under.
They're going to cover it. They're going to win by more than 2 touchdowns.
I'll take Houston as well, as will Harry. And just to put a bow on the rap sheet thing, as I said, there were plenty of people who I follow, who I noticed, called him out on that.
Oh, he got a lot.
Plenty of people called him out and this is absurd.
Yeah, a lot of people did. John Ledyard, I think, had the best. So it was he's one of the worst starting players at any position in the NFL. Have some shame, Ian. Was, I think, something along the lines of his tweet.
Just interesting world.
It's just so obnoxious. It's really, really bad. Have some self-respect in your own job. This is embarrassing for your profession.
But that's,
aside from anything else, it's pointless. There's no benefit to it.
No, the benefit is on March 15th or whenever free agency opens and it's so-and-so signed and I'm the first one to get it. But shout out to the agents who negotiated this deal, which is 3 years up to $190 million, even though it's really for $30 million guaranteed. And it's just even more lies put out there come free agency time.
But what's strange to me is that they've kind of taken away that crazy arms race that was happening for a while of insider be the first by 5 seconds. They all pool their insider resources now. So this is all these tweets are per me and Tom Pelissero and Mike Garafolo.
I don't know what that.
I know. I've asked. Tom Pelissero said it's in order to basically prevent the kind of psychotic competition and stuff. They just agreed that we all work for the same place. Let's just pool it. So now all you're competing against is the other network. That's you're telling me that this basically completely abasing yourself at the feet of agents who will make you say anything now, including, by the way, signing the tweet, right? Deal done by X of Y agency. In order to completely abase yourself at the feet of these people, you are doing that because you think the upside of beating the other network's tweet by 5 seconds is worth it.
So
what the hell is that?
So then my next question is, why do you need multiple insiders anyway if you're all getting the same information?
Well, because presumably they get more information that way.
Maybe.
But again, if the agency is feeding it all to you anyway, then why do you? The whole thing's just idiotic for no purpose. Nobody benefits from this at all. Least of all, the consumer. Us, we all get dumber by watching these tweets because we're now getting propaganda.
Oh yeah, there's someone out there who doesn't know who thinks Devin White's having a great year.
And propaganda, by its nature, makes you stupider because it's not giving you the facts. It's giving you somebody's slant of the facts. If you are subject to propaganda, even if you're aware of it and you're on the lookout and you're monitoring these things and you're trying to stay sensible, you are incrementally being made more stupid by the day. And that's what we're all dealing with because of where this insider world has gone. And some of these people, I like some of these people. Tom Pelissero a nice guy.
Just Tom.
He's the nicest of the ones I've encountered. But
probably just Tom.
But, the man's profession is becoming embarrassing, is all I'm saying.
Man. Anyway, that's our show. Week 16, NFL preview. Good to be back. Thanks to everybody for bearing with us. Show updates for next week. It's Christmas week.
It is.
We'll do our normal Monday.
Yep.
Christmas Eve is on Wednesday, so we're not going to have a full Wednesday show. The initial plan is we might roll it because there's 3 games.
So for anyone that hasn't been paying attention to what the Christmas schedule looks like for football, for the NFL, right?
It's a triple header.
On Christmas Day. So there's a 3-game triple header on Christmas Day, the Thursday. So instead of just one random Thursday night game in a given week, there are now 3 on Christmas Day, 1 p.m., 4:30 p.m., and Sunday night football on Thursday, 8:15 p.m. So we are, what did we decide we're doing? Probably not.
So we're definitely not going live for our preview show on Thursday on Christmas morning.
Correct.
So to offset that.
And then the rest of the games there's 1 on Saturday, 2 on Saturday. And then
we're going to go
Sunday.
Wednesday, 3-game preview. Wednesday
Well, that's
morning.
the TBD part.
TBD. We'll see.
Yeah.
If it's
we
even
may
worth
or
it,
may
all
not.
the games are awful.
Right. We may or may not jump on a Wednesday and Christmas Eve on location, me from Connecticut and you at your house, and preview quickly the 3 games that are on Christmas. Or we might not.
Or we might not. We will definitely be live on Friday.
Correct.
9 a.m.
For the full preview show. That'll
That'll be the full Week 17 preview show, which may also include a little review of Christmas. And that'll be us touching on those games.
Right.
We could push that to either way. The preview show's next Friday, Boxing Day, the 26th.
Stephen's Day. But go ahead.
Whatever. It's not. You got your own. You have a different name for it. Do we have this conversation every year?
Not every year, but it's definitely not the first time we've had it.
All right. Stephen's Day?
Yeah. St. Stephen's Day.
Okay.
Not your day.
My day.
St.
My
Stephen's Day.
Anyway, that's it for us today. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks for all the donations, too. We're over 2,500. You'll be getting some of that.
Elf action.
You'll be seeing me as Elf at the mall within the next few days.
Outstanding.
Cannot wait. We have a gift exchange on Monday, you and I.
Yeah. Your present arrived.
Yours is on the way.
Excellent.
I did get yours. So, gift exchange on Monday as well. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again on Monday. More Check the Mic.